History Boys back again. Tyler still not with us, and he dropped an interesting factoid on me the other day when I met him and his baby boy, Oscar.
Oh.
He told me that Oscar is the same birthday as Jason Alexander,
Nice.
Augustus Caesar, and Typhoid Mary.
Mary Mallon.
Yeah.
Mary Mallon.
I liked her ice cream.
Yeah.
Peach ice cream.
Who are you? Explain to us who you
fuck
are
are you?
and what are you?
I am Christopher Whedon, and I am a history boy.
Oh, shit.
Nice.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
No.
Woof. I am Zach Meck, also known as the Great Depression, also a history boy.
Well, we'll get away from, the constantly evolving thing that is the 24-hour news cycle. Today, this will take your mind off of it.
There you go.
Oh, no, I mean, I was saying that I was the Great Depression because not only am I great at being depressed, but I am poor.
It'd be nice if you could work.
Yes, it would be very
Wouldn't
nice
it?
if I could work.
And I am Jerry Nash, history boy as always, and, of course, filling in for Mr. Tyler Armourtrout, we have
That's me.
Andrew.
I'm Andrew Stevens.
Stevens.
Also, currently an understudy history boy. I like to think of myself as the reverse Tyler.
One might say.
What do you mean there, pal?
You're the reverse.
Well, some people, they...
He wears Tyler's clothes on backwards.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down
Oh, a
to.
little bit of crisscross.
I do a bit
Yeah.
of a crisscross
He likes
thing
to
with
jump,
Tyler's
jump.
clothes. I'm also like really, really far right because I think that we need to bring a far right perspective to this podcast. And
Yeah.
I'm like really not funny, and I don't like have good banter with people. I just
Yeah.
I'm there, and I'm really just taking up space and not contributing anything.
Tyler requested we got the worst possible candidate to replace him so people would miss him.
You also forgot to mention that you're not a coward.
Oh yes, see the
He's
seal
also
on
heroic.
my family seal is a man taking a dump on Tyler's ancestor.
With the second
Hiding
hand,
behind
right?
a rock.
Yeah, he's hiding behind a rock, and above that rock is
You're
my
standing.
ancestor just taking a squat, really squeezing one out.
Perfect.
Yeah, if there's one thing I'd say about
And I'm a
Andrew
history boy.
and his and his lineage is that they're very brave.
Yes. Solid brave.
When people meet Andrew, they're like, "Oh, the brave Andrew."
Yeah.
he's very brave.
Oh, brave Andrew?
Andrew the Brave.
Yeah. Brave Andrew. That's
Yeah.
the first thing they think when they first lay eyes upon him.
They don't even know his name's Andrew yet.
No,
but they
they're
can
like
tell.
that. That's a
He's
brave
masculine.
man right there. That is a brave man.
Yeah.
There's not a bone of cowardice inside of him.
But perhaps someday there will be.
Nice.
If Tyler has his way.
Nice.
So, what do we got going on? What's on the docket today, Jerry?
Well, continuing our spooky season.
Hella spooky.
We're gonna do another spooky story from history.
Dang, I'm spooked.
I'm frightened already.
Today we're doing Elizabeth Bathory.
Metal.
Yeah. Now the stories about Elizabeth of Bathory and what happened inside her castle are disturbing. The Blood Countess, as she has become to be known, was a powerful countess in the Kingdom of Hungary within the Holy Roman Empire in the late 1500s and early 1600s. During this time, Hungary was fighting a long struggle over Wallachia. So they're still fighting a couple hundred years later with the Ottomans. Of course, they're fighting, Hungary with the Ottomans.
Hungary and the Ottomans could not get along.
No. Different religions. Opposing religions.
Yes. I have an issue with people who have a different religion than me.
Yeah. So did they.
But my religion is it's pie-based.
Sure.
Like off the food, not
Well, that's the thing. Hungary, they worshipped pie and food, and the Ottomans, they were really into furniture.
Right.
Like, I really like
makes perfect
resting my
sense.
feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to rest my feet up. And they're like, we don't rest with our feet up because we're face deep in pie.
It was all about that. So much blood was shed over that conflict.
Hundreds of years we must fight.
Because they're hungry.
Yeah.
I think that's appropriate, though.
This particular conflict in this particular time was called the Long Turkish War, sometimes referred to as the Long War, other times referred to as the 13 Years' War, and other times referred to as the 15 Years' War.
Make up your mind.
Did they
Yeah.
not know how to count years?
I have some questions about that. Was there a
yes.
short Turkish war? Like, is it like a World War I, World War II kind of thing?
No, I just think that one kind of stuck. And as far as the 13 versus 15, there's just disputes on to when it started. So
Weird. All right.
Yeah.
I guess
mean-
there probably will be for our second Civil War.
Nice.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the war in Afghanistan is longer than that.
Yeah. No, it's true.
I mean, it's going to keep going forever until the United States caves in on itself.
Yeah, it's called a Forever War.
The Forever War.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was against this backdrop that rumors began to form about the Countess. That she was an unapologetic, homicidal maniac. And even that she was a vampire.
Well, yeah.
She turned into bats.
Like Bigfoot.
like Bigfoot and like
Bigfoot.
Vlad.
Bram Stoker even referenced her when he was writing Dracula as well, so...
In the book?
Well, as he was, like, doing research
I
and
get
writing
it.
Dracula, he came across our old buddy Vlad and Elizabeth of Bathory.
But
Cool.
Dracula
Think-
had tits on his head. Right? That's confirmed.
I've seen the film.
Do you think
It was a
that
documentary.
Yes.
if Vlad the Impaler and Elizabeth Bathory, that if they had OkCupid accounts, do you think they'd be a 99% match?
No, because, Elizabeth of Bathory was from a very well-to-do family. Vlad was sort of in a failing family. He was also gross Wallachian, and she
Ew.
was Hungarian, which is more prestigious
Very
back in those
fancy.
days.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's like the difference between a Dracula vampire, which Bathory was, and a Nosferatu vampire, which Vlad the Impaler was.
I like where you're going with
except
that.
that Vlad the Impaler was actually Dracula.
Well, so was Nosferatu.
Uh,
Kinda.
It depends. Who cares? It's all fake. He was also Frankenstein.
Well, what I mean is that I
No,
think
there
the
were a couple
Nosferatu
Frankensteins.
The
movie,
doctor, not the monster.
Yes.
if I recall right, the Nosferatu movie was a Dracula movie, but they didn't have the rights.
Yes, so they named it Nosferatu.
And they were like, let's make him uglier and grosser to make it a little bit different.
Well, yeah, and like,
The Baron.
yeah, to make him
Baron.
look inbred and older than fuck, you know. So
Might have been a little bit of that with
Do you think he
Bathory.
liked pizza to pie?
yes,
I mean, I don't know. You see how long Nosferatu's fingers were? Those look like pleasure fingers.
fingered
Right there.
nails.
They go deep in
Sangly.
there.
Just itches that scratch.
Back.
Yeah.
Scratch
So he
that,
can scratch
that
his
itch.
back.
Shut up.
Elizabeth of Bathory committed unspeakable atrocities, earning herself the title of the most notorious female serial killer in all of recorded history,
Cool.
with her total victims estimated anywhere from 80 to 650.
Jesus
That is a bit
Christ.
above average.
Yeah. 80's a big number.
Eileen
80.
Warnos, eat your heart out.
I know, right? It is said that she kidnapped peasant girls, sometimes virgins, from the surrounding villages to drain them of their blood so Elizabeth could bathe in it
Yeah.
in a twisted effort to preserve and restore her youth and beauty.
And it worked.
Oh, I've seen that movie. It's Danzig's new film. It's the last vignette.
There's actually a couple of movies.
Beautifully done. Best scene is where it's literally 15 minutes of a woman bathing in blood and Danzig zooming in
Yeah.
and out on just her tits.
Oh, wow.
Literally for 15 minutes long.
Wow.
So,
okay.
He's an auteur, is what
I
you're
was going to say.
saying.
Yes,
he's
he
an
is
auteur.
an
I could really tell by the lighting in that first one you showed us.
Oh, yeah.
your tits!
Yeah.
They're staring at me!
Yeah. But that story's bullshit.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I'm just going to get that out of the way right now.
Nip that in the bud.
Yeah.
In the
There's
bud.
absolutely no evidence she ever bathed in blood or had any interest in keeping the blood.
That doesn't mean she didn't.
It would have been cool, though.
There's
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
most people know that blood kind of right away starts to clot.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's not exactly the most ideal liquid to bathe yourself in. It'd get all mucky and nasty and gross.
Maybe that's what she was into.
She had a fetish.
Gore fetish.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a thing.
It is.
Yep.
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah, I was really drunk at an independent porn film festival.
Oh,
And when
nice.
they got to the part with the hooks, that was when I had to leave.
Yeah.
Whoa!
That's a
I
hard
drunkenly
pass.
was like, art is weird, and I left the theater.
So Elizabeth Bathory, so it's actually what her real name is,
Yeah. I'm not calling her that.
We're not. We're gonna call her Elizabeth of Bathory.
Anglicize it for me,
We're
Christ.
we're gonna anglicize.
I'm just gonna
it.
call her Lizzie.
Be my Ellis Island, please.
She was born on August 7th, 1560, to a rich and influential noble family in. Now I'm gonna fuck this up.
Ugh.
Nyírbátor? Fuck it.
Fuck it.
In Hungary. Her father was Baron George the Sixth Bathory. He was brother of the voivode of Transylvania.
Vampire.
Yeah.
Yes.
And her mother, Baroness Anna Bathory, she was also the daughter of a different voivode of Transylvania.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you think they both had traits that were
yeah.
going to get passed down to their kids?
They did, they
Crusader
did.
King style?
Yeah, man. Dude, this story's way Crusader Kings. They were closely related to the King of Poland and the
Cool.
Grand Duke of Lithuania.
Alliances.
All right.
Yes, exactly. Alliances. Either way, her parents were first cousins.
There you go.
That sounds right.
Now you got that inbred trait. Minus stats.
Yeah. you got minus to charisma or whatever the hell. This inbreeding caused Elizabeth to have health problems. She was an epileptic or falling sickness. That's what they used to call it.
Oh, well, it also doesn't help that she was a Leo, and us Leos were very passionate, dramatic people.
Yeah.
That's what I hear.
They all bathe in blood. Every
Right.
goddamn Leo
It's
I've
true.
ever met.
We
We do,
do.
yeah.
Yeah,
Me
you're
and
a
Zach bathe in blood together.
Yeah. While we dock.
All right.
So it's great.
Jesus.
Blood doc.
Yeah.
Blood docking.
Don't look that up if you're at work. So considering her family's high social status, she was given a top-notch education. She was fluent in Hungarian, German, Greek, and Latin. It is said that it was from this young age that she learned from her very own family what real cruelty was.
That cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet,
it is. Yeah, it. You know, you always learn the worst if you're exposed to the worst,
Right.
right? Because it normalizes it to your, forming brain.
Mm-hmm.
There's a story that young Elizabeth witnessing the punishment of a peasant whose crime was theft, and actually this is contested. We don't really know what his crime really was. Some sources say that he was trying to sell his children.
Cool.
But we'll kind of get at, as to why that couldn't be a little later.
That's
Sure.
not really
He was
cool.
probably just a thief.
He was
honestly.
stealing hearts.
Yeah,
Aww. a lady killer.
nice.
Ah, killing ladies, stealing hearts. He sounds like a criminal.
Jack the Ripper is what I'm saying. It was Jack the Ripper.
He was stealing hearts.
Yeah,
That's what I said.
I know. I said it. Yeah. Now the story goes that Elizabeth pointed and laughed as this peasant thief was sewn into the body of a horse and left to die.
So Spartacus. He was
I
hiding.
knew that was gonna happen.
That's
They knew that, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fucking
They learned that
metal.
from Spartacus, and they all hid in the horse.
I feel like sewn into the body of a horse has to. Is that a Cannibal Corpse title?
It's gotta be,
There's
right?
got to be a song title called
Probably.
that.
Yeah. It was also rumored that her uncle was a practitioner of Satanism, when Satanism meant straight up devil worship.
Like, actually.
Yeah.
None of that bullshit Crowley nonsense.
Beelzebub.
Crowley was not a Satanist. He was
Oh,
a
no,
magic man.
I'm sorry, not Crowley.
You're talking about LaVey.
LaVey.
Yeah,
That
the
fucking dildo.
the early black metal guys, not the late black metal guys.
Yeah, and not Church of Satan.
Yes,
Yes.
very different.
This whole thing feels
Satanic
like
Temple, very
Metalocalypse
different.
episode.
Yeah, right? Oh, yeah. This could absolutely be something like that. But yeah, her uncle and her aunt, who was a witch,
Yep.
they taught little Elizabeth sadomasochism and witchcraft and all of these things.
Like, this is the phrasing where I start to be like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
she's a witch, eh? Right?
Yeah.
All right. Sure.
Yeah. She's
I-
always has been.
Just like that Hillary Clinton. Am I right, guys?
Easy there, Tyler.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris.
Just like all of those women we called witches in the 1800s,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
They were-
yeah.
Or
Just like
earlier
that.
than that, 1600s.
Elizabeth
1700s.
Warren.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
We love calling women witches. That's why I hear that and I'm like, okay.
Remember that SNL sketch when they had the bitch trial? And it was
Oh, yeah.
Shannon Doherty?
No.
And they're like, they're like, I saw her summoning the devil. And they're like, so? And they're like, and she did not introduce me. She's a bitch.
So, okay, let me just rewind for a hot second. So both her aunt and uncle were Satanists, were Satan worshippers.
Well, Satanist back then meant devil worshippers.
Yes, all about the demonology, and
Did they
and her aunt was
Beelzebub?
was a witch, and they taught her sadomasochism and witchcraft.
Yeah.
They sound like Cenobites to me.
Yeah. Her uncle was Pinhead.
Pleasure and pain.
Hot.
Pleasure and pain.
Jesus wept. When Elizabeth was 10 or 12, I saw many sources that kind of varied on this.
Okay.
She was betrothed to Count Ferenc Nadaste.
Namaste.
See, I was reading in my head when I was looking at this outline, I was reading him as nasty. Nasty.
Count Nasty.
Dynasty. Dynasty.
Yeah, that was really where my head went.
Nadazdi.
Dynast.
Ferenc, which I thought was kind of funny because it
Frank
sounds like
Nasty.
Frank. Frank Nasty.
Frank, if you're nasty.
Frank the Nasty.
It's just Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito is betrothed to
Frank the Nasty.
If you were a king, he'd be Frank the Nasty.
He'd be Frank the Nasty.
Count Frank the Nasty.
Count Frank the Nasty. Yeah. Married to a 10 or 12 year old. And he's played by Danny DeVito.
Obviously.
In Frank character.
He's like, no, I don't diddle kids.
Don't diddle kids. It's like, wrote a whole song about it.
Nadasti, I think he was 15 when they were first engaged. He was the son of a powerful Hungarian noble. But actually, Elizabeth outranked him. She was from a more powerful family, so she actually retained her name when they married. So she wasn't...
And that pissed him off.
Well...
That's why they...
Nothing you can do about it.
She was a feminist. That's why they thought she was a witch.
Yeah, you're right. So months before her 15th birthday, he was 19 years old, on May 8th, 1575, they were married. And they were given the now infamous castle Kastich in modern-day Slovakia as a wedding present.
Cool.
Yeah, like his mom bought a castle and then gave it to them.
Cool.
Which is nuts. It shows just kind of how rich and powerful these people were.
I mean, it's her quinceañera. Like, it's fine.
The ruins of this castle are still there and were actually made into a tourist attraction in 2014.
I know where we're going.
Yeah, right? Well, for me, it seemed like that's really recent.
Yeah,
You know what I
definitely.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
What's tourism like in Slovakia? I don't know.
I'm sure there's a good amount.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been
There's
to
a decent
Budapest. I
amount.
bet it's similar.
Right. I guess I don't
Yeah.
know it's like what's the major city in Slovakia?
it's close by.
Oh, I know it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna Google it so it looks like I actually know it, but I do know it.
Fun fact, my last name is Slavic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Slav.
Melania.
Slav,
Melania's from Slovakia. Is that right?
Slovenia.
Slovenia.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yep.
that's so
Yep.
confusing.
That is confusing.
I imagine the people from there get really annoyed.
Yep.
Bratislava is the capital.
Bratislav, yeah.
Oh shit.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I have heard of that
yeah,
place.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you hear the city, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I was like,
But
that
I
was
couldn't have pulled it
Budapest
out of
for
my
a while.
ass.
Like I don't think I knew Budapest was a Hungary spot.
Yeah, it's capital
until
Hungary.
my
Oh, it's a Hungry
early
spot.
20s.
Yo, it's a hungry spot.
They got food.
Yeah, I ate Burger King there when I was extraordinarily hungover.
I just need a little taste of home.
It's
me
the
that.
closest place.
Give me that red, white, and blue.
That's the reason we never went to the baths, is I was just so hungover after going to the ruin bars.
Yeah. Now, their wedding was a lavish party with over 4,500 guests in attendance.
Ugh.
Sweet.
And she gave birth to 5 children,
Gross.
but only
Ew, kids?
only 2 daughters and 1 son survived
Oh.
past infancy.
No.
And there's a story, we don't know how true it is, but there's a story that when she was 13 years old,
So before they got married.
yes, she was impregnated by a peasant boy.
Stealing hearts.
Yeah. The child was given away to a trusted friend of the family and taken into Wallachia, where he disappeared forever.
And that child grew up to be Nixon.
Spiro!
The headless body of Spiro Agnew.
Sick 'em, Agnew.
It was said that the peasant boy was castrated, then mutilated, and then thrown to the wild dogs
That's rude.
for this.
I mean,
He was stealing hearts.
yeah, fits the crime.
So they stole his junk.
Yep. Now, because her husband was away so often during the war, they did not have their first child, Anna, named after her mom, until 1585, 10 years after their marriage.
Okay.
He was just not around that often.
That is pretty unusual for
Yeah.
the time, huh?
Yeah, to not have a child right away. You know
Right.
what I mean? Children born into nobility, though, all of her children were raised and educated by governesses that were underneath her.
Mm-hmm.
So, she didn't have a lot of contact with her children.
Sure.
So Count Nadasti was an ambitious commander in the Hungarian army during this time. His brutality on the battlefield earned him the nickname the Black Knight of Hungary.
It's no Frank the Nasty, but
I was gonna say it's why he's constantly played by Martin Lawrence in films.
I just watched that the other night.
All right.
Like for the first time in God knows how long.
Never seen
It's strangely watchable.
It works.
It's fine.
All right, holds up.
It's not accurate.
Sure. Well,
wait, you mean Martin Lawrence didn't travel backwards through time?
Not for that part.
Not for that
but-
reason.
damn,
Not
Gina.
for that reason.
He did travel backwards through
Damn
time.
Gina.
They hated each other.
Yeah. Nadasti was notorious for his cruelty, torturing prisoners and playing soccer with their decapitated heads. And yes, impaling many.
As was the
fucking
style
wild.
at the time.
Would you say that's like confirmed shit?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
like
Oh,
wild.
yeah.
Holy fuck.
And yeah, he also learned the art of impaling from the Ottomans.
All right.
Yeah. The more I read about, like, all the wars between the Holy Roman Empire and, like, the papacy against the Ottomans, the more I think that impaling was something to kind of, like, be like, well, if you're going to do it to us, we're going to do it to you. And it was kind of a...
Escalation,
Yeah.
back and forth. Ugh.
It was an Ottoman thing.
It's like Batman
know.
and the Joker.
Yeah. It's,
Or
it's a tit for tat.
Facebook. It's you poke me, I poke you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never
Only
been
quite
poked.
literally.
Yes.
You give them a poke.
Yeah, that's one of those
And the
cold wars
fundament.
that ultimately results in nuclear warfare.
Yeah.
You let it go on long enough,
Luckily, they did not have nuclear weapons.
Or Facebook.
right? Ooh,
That would
Yeah.
really
bad.
fuck shit up.
It would really be fucked done. When Nadasti was home, he and Elizabeth bonded over their shared sadomasochism. Nadasti once covered a bound, nude servant girl in honey to let the bugs crawl over and bite and sting all over her until she collapsed unconscious onto the floor.
Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
that's dark.
And to bring her out of consciousness, they burned her feet.
What?
Oh,
Ah,
why?
Fuck.
Well, because Nadasti, he at least what the
How else are
accounts
you gonna
say.
wake him up?
Yeah, the accounts say that they would take these rolled up pieces of paper that were soaked in
Oh,
oil,
hot foot.
and they would.
You say that as if it's like a very common childhood game. It's like, oh yeah, like when you stick their hand into the glass of water so they pee themselves. It's just like that. It's hot.
Or when you
foot.
burn their feet.
You
You
burn
light their
their
feet after you've made them pass out unconscious from putting honey
Too
and
many
bugs all
bugs.
over them.
Yeah.
A typical slumber party
Yeah.
prank.
It's a locker room move.
No.
Oh my god.
You'd roll up these pieces of paper and soak them in oil, and then put them in between the toes,
Yep.
and then
Oh my
light that on
God.
fire. And he goes, I don't care how unconscious they are, they're gonna wake up after that.
That's like
fucked up.
from fucking Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yeah.
When they're trying to rob the house for the two rifles.
Yeah.
And they're the old people there, and they put the
Yeah.
hot foot like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a hot foot.
Or they just put the feet in the fire. Because you wake up.
It's the
You wake
opposite
up.
of what you get at a wedding. Hot feet.
Nice.
That's how they used to cure hot foot. Or
Yeah.
cold feet with a hot foot.
With a hot foot.
So
Just switch one out for the other.
They cancel each other out.
Yeah.
I have to ask you guys before we continue on, like, what is the worst bug bite you've ever experienced?
Fire ants. when I lived in Texas. I had like a trail of bites up my stomach. Like what I was too young to have a happy trail, but it was what would have been a happy trail, except it was of fire ant bites, and it sucked.
I never had anything that bad, but I've had when my cat got fleas, they only bite me and nobody else because I'm delicious. And I had just scars. I still have actually scars like that. I don't know if you can see it. It's from I have scars because I would scratch them until they stopped itching because bleeding and pain was pleasurable compared to the itching.
Fuck.
Behind my dad's shop, we had a garden and like this lawn. But when we would do like light construction on the place, tearing down, rotted bushes and stuff. Every year you'd kind of have to do it. We'd burn them in the back. I don't know why. It wasn't my decision.
Right.
But we'd burn them in the back. And what we found out very quickly is that underground there were hives and hives and hives of wasps.
Finding that out very quickly is bad.
Yeah. And there were none too happy about the fire. And every time you ever dig or spray water or have fire or anything back there, they find out. And they come out. And I've been stung countless times by wasps out there, and that's been just awful.
My dad was telling me about how he stepped into a wasp's nest once.
Yeah.
And they got him.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Get you good.
Right. No, I would agree with you, Andrew. The worst that I've ever experienced was fire ants living in Puerto Rico as a wee child. You know how you do the whole truth or dare game?
Oh no.
My dumbass chose dare and laid belly on top of naked belly on top of a fire ant.
Fuck.
Oh
man.
my god.
That's some jackass shit.
Yeah,
man.
got bitten up so bad that this was at school too.
You had to go to the hospital.
yeah.
I had to. They had to call my ma to come and pick me up, and she was doing her finals in college.
Fuck.
So she had to miss
You
her finals
asshole.
to come and pick me up.
You
and take me to
piece
the
of
hospital.
shit.
Yeah,
You
I
asshole.
am the worst.
You're the worst.
It's such an immediate pain that
Yeah.
you can't do anything else. Like, oh no, this hurts really, really bad.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I've never had
like
that.
remember your little happy trail? That was my entire belly.
Fuck.
Fuck, dude.
Yeah.
That is insane.
Yeah.
They don't call them fire ants for nothing.
No, they do not.
They'll give you a hot foot.
No, this kind of thing is common with sadomasochistic couples, where they, the guy is like really into it, and it's kind of this sexual thing.
Yeah.
And the woman sort of imitates the male party in the group, and that's how they kind of normalize it with each other. It becomes like this sort of sexual thing.
Oh, like Epstein and Ghislaine.
Yeah,
That's a really good example.
That's a great example.
I know that I've heard of like serial killer couples where it
Like the toy box killer?
where it seems very clear the man's leading,
Right.
But there is sort of like it's a cult mentality, but on a tiny scale.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah,
yes,
that makes
you
sense.
yes and each other. You know what I mean? And it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. And so he kind of showed her how to torture people. Because, like, you can torture people, but again, like, if somebody goes unconscious, if you want to torture them, you have to bring them back. Because it's not fun if they're not awake, right? While Nadasti was commanding troops during the war, Elizabeth ran the day-to-day operations of the Dominion. And after 29 years of marriage, Count Nadasti died of an unknown illness.
Ooh.
Do you have suspicions about this?
I have suspicions, but
It was COVID.
but the thing is no one agrees. So I mean, my suspicion doesn't mean a lot.
But there is conjecture something could have happened. Of course, with a character like this, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, he was either at home or on the battlefield. We don't really know. There's conflicting reports. But what it had to do with was something to do with a malady or paralysis of the lower extremecities.
Polio.
I don't know.
Just throwing things out. I don't
He's a
know.
regular FDR.
Exactly like FDR.
I'd kind of like to keep going with like the depravity of sort of the times and who this person was, and say that it was something like syphilis.
Yeah,
or
maybe.
something like that.
Sure.
I mean, they called it the lover's pox back then. They kind of knew what syphilis. That's another thing is like they kind of knew what syphilis was.
Yeah. Hot
You know, they knew what a lot of stuff. They knew what a lot of stuff was. Whatever it was, it killed him. It finally killed him.
He got that hot dick.
Yeah.
His dick burnt off.
Yeah.
To a crisp.
To a crisp, you say.
Yeah. On January 4th, 1604, in the final moments of Nadasti's life, he asked a close friend of his, Georgi Turzo, to look after his wife and family. And then he died.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Seemed like, why do the good ones always die?
Either the good ones are taken, gay, or dead.
Yep.
He was one of those that...
And he was all three.
He was one of those that if you were on his side, it's like, damn, glad you're on our side. You know, that kind of guy.
You're a bit of a wild card, but I'm glad we have you in our deck.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too.
You know who Nadasti reminds me of? Nandor.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah. He reminds me a lot of Nandor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Kind of the same region, sort of the same time.
I wonder
frame.
if he's a
Right,
little based
right.
off of that guy.
I mean, and I'm sure Vlad is also.
Sure,
you know what I
Bathory's
mean?
been considered for what we do in the
well,
shadows.
I bet
yeah.
they had to have
Oh,
read
yeah.
about Bathory.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Natcha kind of seems like a
Nadia.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. Nadasti's captured lands now fell to his widow, Elizabeth, who was 44 years old. So they had their own county. They're already powerful count and countess, but he captured, during the war, he captured all of these baronies and towns and whatnot that were now his.
I know that guy.
Right?
I get all the barons.
Crusader
Kings.
Kings. Yeah. and when he died, it went to his wife, right? Now she held all of this. Like, she was now insanely
You
rich
gotta
and
set
powerful.
up your succession laws better, bro.
God, I love that game. If you guys are into Crusader Kings, dude, let us know. We love hearing about that game.
Ooh, yeah.
I can go on for hours about it. Chris needs to play it.
I want to
Few
play it.
games more
So-
HistoryBoiz than Crusader.
Oh my god, it's so good.
I want to play it. I've been playing Hades, and that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Won't get into it now, but maybe we can talk about it on the Discord if you guys maybe donate to our Patreon.
Give us some money.
Dude, I am A-okay with
don't have to.
talking all day about Crusader Kings on our Discord. If you
yeah.
guys want, if you guys are down, I am down.
Yeah, you got to pay, though.
Yeah, you have to pay. Yeah,
Pay up.
pay up.
You know the world we're living in.
Many believe that after the death of her husband, Elizabeth became even more erratic, cruel, and unhinged. She was prone to wild bouts of rage, where she would viciously beat whichever one of her servants that happened to be close to her or nearby during that time, at that point,
Just you're around, fuck you, I'm gonna
Yeah.
beat the shit out of you.
turn around and slap him. And actually, the story that comes from the blood making her youthful is that servant was brushing her hair and tugged on it too hard and hurt her a little bit, and she flew off the handles into a rage and backhanded her, and it broke her nose.
Oh shit.
And there was blood on her hand, and when she wiped it away, she was like, I feel rejuvenated.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hot.
I would have backhanded that woman anyway.
Are you gonna pull out my hair?
I would have done it to a man, too. I'm egalitarian.
Equal opportunity. Yeah. The beatings became more and more frequent, often for the most minor infractions.
We got to show him who's boss, you know?
Well, if they missed a stitch on something, that's a beating.
That's a paddling.
Yeah.
That's a demerit.
That's a demerit.
That already sounds like my Elizabeth. Where when I forget to do the dishes, that's a beating.
That's a paddling.
That's paddling.
But full day in the doghouse.
I'm also
literally.
really excited for those paddlings.
Yeah.
So-
Oh,
Yeah, that's the difference.
That's a write-up.
The punishments for each of these infractions also became more and more creative. Elizabeth would take long needles and shove them underneath the servant girl's fingernails, saying, and I quote, "If it hurts the whore, she can pull it out." End quote.
Damn.
Now, when she did go to pull out the thing, because she said this, she went to pull out the needle. When she pulled it out, she was right there with a knife to chop off the finger.
Fuck me. Ah.
It's
Yeah.
rude.
But at least they got away with just that. A couple of missing fingers, maybe.
Ah.
So they were the lucky ones.
They didn't get sewed into a horse.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. She would beat them with a club or a cat o' nine tails, and sometimes she would bite chunks of flesh from the neck, the face, the shoulder, the abdomen, and or breasts of the young servant girls.
So she was a zombie.
She's Hannibal style.
Just tearing flesh off, yeah, with her teeth. With each passing year, she seemed to become more and more sadistic. She would strip them nude, douse them with cold water, and force them to stay outside in the snow, freezing to death where they stood. This is just her servants. Anything wrong they did, they would get these punishments.
Well, those are lovely statues you have out there.
Yeah.
Why are they banging on the door?
How come they're nude and crying? Inside her horrific dungeon torture chambers, some victims were starved, some were burned with metal pokers, sometimes on the genitals.
Hot dick.
Yeah. And the mouth and limbs were sometimes sewn together.
Ah, a bit of a human centipede style.
Yeah.
He's an innovator.
I don't know. I think this has been going on for a long time.
Now, did the servants have to sew their own mouths shut?
She would personally do it.
Okay.
God.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm honestly less impressed because, if you're that scary, you would force your victim to sew their own mouth shut.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
That's
make
pretty
them do
metal.
it.
Yeah.
Like
That's hard to
Ichi
do.
the killer.
Yeah.
I guess it wasn't all the way. It was just the sides.
Yeah, that's true. The smiley, right?
Yeah.
He had the Glasgow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Wasn't Ichi the killer though? Wasn't the guy with the scars?
No, Ichi the Killer was the crybaby boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
with the
his name in the
blades on
movie?
his boots.
blade on his boots while
Yeah.
he cries like a little baby boy.
That was Ichi, but
The other
bad
guy-
guy.
yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
remember his name.
I don't know.
where
I'm just saying the name of
where
the
he cut
movie,
off his
I
own
wasn't-
tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The listeners right now are yelling at us who it is.
We're
I'm
all-
sure.
They're like, you're wrong about everything.
I know. I'm sorry for everything.
You're wrong. Yeah.
But Elizabeth's favorite though was a simple pair of scissors.
I don't like where this is going.
I really don't.
Her favorite thing to do was to clip the webbing between the victim's fingers and toes.
Oh
She would cut off noses, hands, genitals,
No.
and often
No.
use the scissors to stab someone repeatedly until they died.
So she was the killer in Clock Tower.
Sure.
If you remember that game,
Barely.
it was an old Nintendo game
Yeah.
on the NES.
And you stab people with scissors?
Well, that was the bad guy. You were trying to get away from the Scissor Man.
The Scissorman.
The Scissor Man.
Scissorman.
The Scissor Sisters.
Yes.
Get it.
That band.
The band Scissor Sisters.
I try to get
Trying
away from
cut
them
my,
all the time.
Cut my weapon.
I like the Scissor Sisters.
I do too, actually.
So as pieces of flesh and viscera were cut off or cut out, she would force the victim and her other servant girls, some willing, some forced into the participation, to cannibalize the body parts.
Oh.
Metal. But
So imagine
gross.
like her cutting open your guts and then feeding
Not my
them
guts.
to you. Yeah. And then
Hey.
feeding them to you as you died.
I'm using those.
a little bit of an Ouroboros situation.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
goes round and round,
Yeah.
right?
Aurora Borealis.
Remember
Yes.
the beginning of
Jesus Christ.
Steamed hams.
Steve Hams. Remember the beginning of Saving Private Ryan when the guy's guts are
Yeah.
out?
He's calling for his mommy.
Yeah.
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 That's fucking brutal.
It's fucking
Imagine
nasty,
eating
dude.
those.
Imagine eating them.
Imagine somebody forcing you to
All
do
I'm
so.
saying is it looked mighty tasty.
Jesus Christ. Some stories even say that she placed many of her victims inside an Iron Maiden.
I love that band.
Maiden? Excellent!
Yeah. Which is bullshit.
Oh.
Because there's no proof that an Iron Maiden actually ever existed.
I think
Really?
that... Yeah, that's...
Well, I know the band is old, but I know they're not that old.
Well,
no, I've heard Number of the Beast. I believe that they
Yeah.
are real.
I do
Dope
choose
band.
to believe in Iron Maiden.
Dope band, not a real torture device.
Huh.
It's
That was
actually
Iron Maiden, right? Did I fuck that up?
yeah, it's
Really?
You're right, you're
That much?
That's right.
that song is about the genocide of the American Indian.
Ah.
Run to
No,
the
that's
hills.
Run to the
Run to the
Hills.
Hills.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that's the song you said.
No, he
it's
said
a
Number of the Beast.
Oh, Number of the
Number of the
Beast.
Beast is about...
I chose
human number. Its number is 666.
That one's about... That song is about the Number of the Beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Satan.
Praise him.
Praise.
No, the Iron Maiden is a 19th century creation.
Yeah, I think it's for like
More for
sideshows
wax
and stuff.
museums.
Yeah. It's for like Ripley's and like traveling hucksters.
I didn't
I
know
can't
that.
remember exactly, but I feel like they had something that
Not a
was
real
like
thing.
that, but didn't have the spikes in it, and they added the spikes to it or something.
Put you in a
For-
coffin
for
and
the,
buried you alive.
Yeah, they put you in a metal coffin. Yeah.
I mean, there's plenty of things they did that were fucked up.
Yeah.
But-
I mean,
Crucifixion.
the Bronze Bull, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It's worse than the Iron Maiden, if you ask me.
I mean, to be honest, like they probably would use an Iron Maiden. if
Sewing you to
somebody
a
thought
horse
of it.
is pretty bad.
That's disgusting, right?
Yeah.
Sewing you to a... Jesus.
And I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Good job, Zach.
It was really weird when they used that sound effect in Empire Strikes Back.
Right?
Yeah.
Really took
Yeah, it
me
was
out of
a-
it.
Yakety schmackety down.
It was an interesting creative choice.
Yeah. It's a creative choice that I went with, and I stand by it 100%.
And when she had had her fun, the bodies were tossed over the side of the castle walls to the waiting and hungry wild dogs and wolves that waited outside.
Oh, I bet they loved that.
Oh, yeah. To tear them to pieces.
Little hungry boy.
Yeah.
Hungry
Little
boys
puppers.
love viscera.
That's how you domesticate some dogs.
Oh, yeah.
Oh no, my viscera.
Now he's got a taste for blood now.
Marduk cares not for the barren wasteland of your desiccated viscera.
He so totally doesn't.
Sometimes they were even the victims were even buried in shallow graves that were easily dug up by the animals and drug around the ground
Sweet.
as well. So yeah, these half-rotted bodies just
corpses outside all the
strewn
time.
around. Most of the servant girls, they were aged 10 to 14 years old,
Ugh.
which makes it so much worse.
I know, it's already so
I mean,
bad.
Yeah.
All right, to be fair, do you remember 10 to 14-year-olds?
When I was 10 to 14
When you
year olds,
were
the girls
10
in class,
Yeah.
nah, I'd bury them.
Yeah, a little shallow grave? No.
I'm not going down 6 feet, but digging is hard.
It is
At
hard.
least
It's
three.
a workout.
I've seen you dig a grave, Chris.
I have. It wasn't full 6 feet,
No.
It was
We could have
1
laid
foot.
down in it.
because it was in the woods, and there were stumps and shit, or roots.
Yeah, roots.
They're called roots.
Yeah. With servant girls going missing with increasing consistency, the rumors about what was happening within the walls of Chachis Castle became more prevalent and began to spread a lot. And all of a sudden, like, people were talking about, they die all the time in there. How come, what's going on in there?
People keep going in. People ain't coming out.
come
It's
back
like,
out.
what do they call it in Metalocalypse? The murder house?
Yeah.
Mord house or
Mord
something?
house.
House.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody's getting killed. It's like a death clock show.
Yeah.
That's what I picture the inside of this castle being like.
Yeah.
Is the
Oh,
inside of
yeah.
there.
Yeah. Sure.
Big ol'
Oh,
hot
yeah.
tub.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I like to imagine it as Pee-wee's Playhouse, but with a bunch of, couchy is just like
Yeah.
a murder couch.
The word of the day is gore.
Exactly.
Now, Elizabeth, at every hastily prepared funeral, because they had to have a funeral for all of them,
Real quick.
she maintained that they had all died from cholera,
Yeah.
although few believed it.
I mean, she probably shouldn't have open caskets.
Yeah, open casket funeral. Probably no caskets in a lot of cases.
Yeah, their guts are just strewn about everywhere. She's like,
And they're like,
cholera.
yeah.
Cholera.
Bless
Cholera's a hell of a drug. Sorry. I mean, disease. I mean, weapon. I don't know.
I don't
Whatever
fucking
we're
know.
calling it.
Yeah.
I gotta
Gotta wrap this up. I got some meetings.
I gotta
with
wrap
a couple
this up. I got
girls.
tickets to go see Venom.
Oh, dear God. But yeah, especially the people that saw the bodies. They were like, cholera, eh? You know?
I mean,
This is late stage cholera. That
Yeah.
it was an open casket just filled with viscera. So
That's when the guts burst out of you,
Yeah.
naturally.
cholera.
Yeah.
cholera.
I'm pretty sure that's how it
You
works.
put them in the casket with a bucket. Now, this was during a time when no low-born peasant could levy any charge against any noble. So
good
if-
old days.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if a noble did something wrong and you were a peasant, you couldn't accuse them of a crime, and you couldn't take them to court. You couldn't accuse them of anything.
Oh, good thing that we don't have that going on nowadays.
Yeah.
The
Right,
law
right.
was known at the time as tough titties.
Yeah. They're more rich and more powerful than you, so...
Sorry about it.
Sorry. Yeah. Even if they had proof, which they did not have, there was nothing they could do about it. Still, with the war raging and the Hungarian economy crumbling, because it was a long war and it sent the whole economy
13
into,
or
into
15 years.
bankruptcy. Yeah. Well, they fought wars a little differently than we do, but the peasants really had no choice but to rely on their local sovereign, you know, for their trickle-down economics. I mean,
Yeah, just like when Reagan was, murdering, like servant girls.
Yeah.
Putting needles under their nails and stuff. Reagan did that shit. That's true.
yeah.
I stand by it.
That's fact. Look it up. Have you heard of Wikipedia? Ronald Reagan's needle trials. Check them out.
1986.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was just
The same year,
It was him pulling an Albert Fish and putting needles in his own taint.
Exactly.
That's what he was doing.
he did do that.
You did.
Yeah.
He
The
loved
term
needles.
trickle-down economics came from the blood trickling from his groin.
That's disgusting.
I actually forgot to warn our audience how disgusting this episode
I had
was
thought
gonna
about that
be.
at the beginning, and maybe a warning recording
A warning
at the very,
would have
very
been
beginning.
good. I forgot. Sorry, folks.
If you made it this far, you probably figured
I mean,
it out.
come on. What's in a name? Elizabeth of Bathory. Everyone fucking has heard of Elizabeth
Yeah.
Bathory.
It has-
Spooky month.
Yeah.
You're gonna deal with some spooky
You
situations.
guys, it has the little E that says explicit next to the episode.
That's
Yeah.
all you need.
Come on.
That
That's
might
all-
mean
that's all I
one
need.
fuck, and it might mean
20 of them.
a deep description of Elizabeth Bathory's
Yeah,
crimes.
exactly.
Alleged.
So during this time, people are very, 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 very poor. Daughters were sold into servitude for high nobility. So basically, they could have a form of income, and they would still be able to see their families, but they worked as servants inside the barony or inside the count's castle,
Right. This was in the documentary that I watched directed by Danzig.
Elizabeth did not commit these crimes alone, however.
Yeah, she had her buddy Count Nasty to help her out.
No. She had 4 trusted accomplices in her employ. To curry favor with their countess, they would try to outdo each other with their cruelty.
That's
Nice.
That's like the American government right now.
You know
I
what-
swear
Oh,
to
yeah.
God.
It's a bunch of yes-anding.
Yeah.
It's sycophants.
You know what I picture
Yeah.
is like, that one part in Return of the Jedi where he has like that council of like ghouls?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, who are those guys?
Yeah, they're like, ew, we're all gross
They're all like
aliens."
gross ghouls that he's like, this is my inner circle.
Yeah. These are my best friends. It's called the Republican Party.
He just likes hiring spooky looking guys, like that guy who is Darth
Like
Vader's
Chris
butler. Remember how Darth Vader has that gross butler?
He has a
in
gross
Rogue One?
butler. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like in The Simpsons, the Republican Party headquarters where like Count Dracula's there, the oil baron and Mr. Burns.
Right.
There's I think there's like a Saudi guy there too.
Yeah,
feels right.
Yeah.
maybe Krusty the Clown.
Oh yeah, Krusty the Clown's in the mix. So is Kent Brockman,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is interesting in
Of course he is.
2020.
Yeah.
Now there is a legend, written much later, that a priest had exposed her crimes to the papacy, putting pressure on the Holy Roman Emperor to do something about this depraved countess. But that's certainly untrue. So what this story is like this priest, it's straight out of the movies. This like priest, he's kind of dressed down, he comes in on a mule. Mm-hmm. It's this ravaged town, and everyone's like keep away from the Blood Countess. And he's like, what? You know, and like...
I feel like this is literally in Dracula.
Yeah, and...
Except he's Count, you know?
He was attacked by a black dog and a black cat the second he got there.
Yep.
Oh dear.
And he's like, you see? It's the work of Satan.
Yes. Yep. I
It's
woke
not
up.
all this jerky in my pocket.
Oh boy, Oberto.
That's what he said as he was
That's
getting
what he
attacked.
said.
I got woken up by a black cat nibbling at my toes the other day.
It was the work of Satan.
It was.
Yeah. Sweet, sweet Satan.
Hey, Satan's just got a foot fetish.
Here's to my sweets.
That's probably true.
That's why she's always trashing the blinds. Satan's like, fuck them blinds up, kitty cat.
Satan
blinds.
hates blinds. Blinds, curtains, anything that blocks you from the real world, man. I'm not into it.
He likes to see the light, ironically.
That's why he wanted us out of the Garden of Eden.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Get true knowledge.
Take off your blinders, man. That's what Satan says.
Dash
Satan,
Satan.
after he hits a fucking
blunt?
big old blunt. You just gotta take off your blinders, man. Fucking take a bite of that fruit, bro.
The real world's out there, man.
Oh, you got fucking make-believe curtains in front of you even when you don't have real ones, you know?
That's what he told my cat.
Satan is way less cool now.
Right?
So, you know,
smoking weed.
you grow up, you got to get a real job, you
Yeah.
get responsibilities.
Pops out a couple of kids, you can't smoke weed every day anymore.
Yeah. He's got to do it by
That's why you don't
himself
pop out
in the
any
basement.
kids.
Yeah.
And with his buds in the garage while they're blasting all
Pumping
that.
iron.
And his bud in the garage. His bud's in the garage and his bud.
Yeah, nice.
Listening to Iron Maiden.
As the bodies began to stack up, Elizabeth was running out of room to put the dead bodies, and she was running out of victims, frankly. Just less and less like girls to torture and murder.
You only have so many girls.
They're like,
Yeah.
nobody's picking up applications anymore.
As this happened, she slipped further and further into a depressive madness that exacerbated her brutality.
Oh, you know when you get like really depressed and it like makes you like murder all your servant girls?
Yeah.
Like, yes.
Yeah.
It's the first thing I do.
Yeah. I went through a bad breakup, so I murdered all my servant girls.
I've gone
Yeah.
through so many servant girls.
Yeah.
It's a travesty, because I get depressed like every 2 weeks.
The pandemic's not been good for servant
Really
girls.
expensive.
But nothing was really to be done of what was going on at Elizabeth of Bathory's house. That is until she went to a higher class of victim.
Stop killing the peasant girls only.
Well, yeah, because she was running out.
That's the first mistake.
Just running out. Running out of little, 10 to 14-year-old girls to kill.
It's like when they stop killing sex workers, like serial killers. You know?
When they
Less
finally
Dead
they
thing.
take it up to somebody that people will pay attention to
Yeah.
because the world is terrible.
Yeah. What they do is
In
they
this
kill
case,
servant
just
girls.
all of peasants.
Yeah. You don't kill a senator, people notice.
Yeah, right.
Well,
Though
what
they
makes
should.
me really upset right now is that nobody is commenting on the fact that she had an addictive personality, and that in and of itself is a disease and should have been addressed. And she needed a counselor to talk to about, maybe. Well, you need to settle down on killing. Hey, how many girls do you reckon you kill a day? 24. Let's try to whittle that down to 12 a
Yeah.
day.
Let's see if we can bring it down just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like it might be a little bit healthier for you.
Keep a
Might
journal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Be
before you know
mindful
it,
about your murders.
before you know it, they'll all be gone.
Yeah.
No, actually, she did have kind of a council lady that showed up at the castle, and this is kind of more legend than it is truth. This lady, her name escapes me. You can read about it on the Wikipedia article. She was a witch.
Oh, Baba Yaga.
And, yeah, and she taught
Baba Yaga, yeah.
Elizabeth all about witchery. But it's totally fake. It's not real. I didn't even include it because it's stupid.
So
I mean,
it was
so
just for
clearly,
Babadook then.
Yeah.
She did fly in
Debunked.
there on a mortar and pestle.
Yeah, right.
She had a chicken leg hut.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Baba Yaga's cool.
She is cool.
It's the weirdest
Bobby
fucking...
Yogs.
Yeah, the strangest legend that there is. So for many reasons, I mean, she needed victims, and frankly, she needed money. She opened a gynoseum.
See, now I thought it was a
gyne-
gynoseum because it's like, got vagina, gotta see him.
Well,
There you go.
gynecology, gynoseum. It's basically,
I like them root words.
it means room for women.
I
Place for women.
love root words.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go into the Greek and whatnot about it, but it's actually probably gynekium or gynekian.
Okay.
Anyway,
Like,
I'm
explain to
probably
us-
still fucking that
All
up.
right, because their
Explain-
M's and N's were weird, huh?
Yeah, explain to us in great detail about where the root languages come from.
No,
This is now the linguistics podcast.
no, thank you.
My wife would if she were here.
Yeah, and what it did is it acted as a finishing school for these noble daughters from these noble and rich families.
Oh, Bad Girls Club.
Yeah, and so
Like the craft,
yeah, so
also witches.
considering that Liz Bathory was
Lizzie B.
she was high ranking, she was very powerful. These noble families they wanted to get in good, so they sent their daughters in, they paid the money, she got money, and now she has victims, right? So when the noble families they started to inquire as to the disappearance of their daughters, because their daughters would just go missing.
People finally started asking.
Yeah, right. Elizabeth had to make up stories that they had died from disease,
Yeah.
cholera.
She just kept blaming
Right.
cholera.
Yeah, she did.
It was COVID. It was a COVID-related death.
Yeah. And even one story, which is kind of bonkers, that one of the daughters had lost her mind and murdered several of the other girls
Yeah.
for their jewels.
They had many jewels.
It was probably that time of the month. You know what I'm saying?
Jesus Christ. Fuck, dude. Oh my god.
I'm sorry.
We lost all of our female
The butt of the
listeners.
joke. The butt of the joke wasn't intended to be women. It's men who think that way.
Right, I know.
Do I need to
know.
explain this? Every
No,
time?
no.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, not to me. To
No.
Andrew.
No,
Explain it to Andrew.
Not to any of us.
But to the
But in
listeners.
general,
I felt
maybe.
better having.
Yeah, maybe.
The noble families weren't buying it. And they finally petitioned Matthias II, the Holy Roman Emperor.
Oh.
And he was also king of Croatia, Hungary, Bohemia.
Was he a Corvinus or whatever it was?
No, that was Matthias Corvinus.
Yeah.
Right.
He was a Habsburg.
Oh,
It was- I mean-
I know those guys.
When I was in Hungary, the dude who was doing the history tour would be like, "See that raven thing up on that church there? Homeboy put that up there."
Matthias Corvinus. Nice.
Yeah.
That guy was awesome.
Corvid, crow.
COVID-19.
Right.
Corvid-19. The
It's
crow.
not related.
The crow disease, not
Yeah.
to be confused with Crohn's disease.
It's actually good for you.
Yeah,
No.
well, it's great for you.
Yeah.
It
Get the
does
crow
make
disease.
I want to be
ravens
riddled
follow you
with
around
crow
all the time.
germs.
Yeah. King Matthias, or Emperor Matthias, I guess, decided to investigate the matter and the goings-on inside this castle.
That's why she shouldn't have started killing noble girls.
I know, yeah,
You
people
get
would
an
miss him.
emperor involved? That's
I know.
writings on the wall.
Again, addictive personality. That's what it is. Like,
She
addicted to
needed more
killing.
victims.
Yeah.
She got more depressed when she ran out of victims.
Oh boy, I just love killing.
Yeah.
Here I go killing again.
To head this investigation was Gheorghe Turzo himself,
There we go.
oh, that guy.
as he had promised Nadazdi on his deathbed to look after Elizabeth.
So, did he have the idea that maybe she was a victim in all this?
Well, he goes, look, my best friend promised me, I promised my best friend as he died, I was going to look after his family. And then my king, who I grew up in his court, I've been tight with the king since I've been alive, asked me to investigate this matter. I'm clearly the best person to go to for this. What he did is he actually investigated it thoroughly. He investigated all these witnesses and people that came forward, and sometimes he had to coax them forward, and the backing of the emperor did
Right.
help him get these testimonies.
I'm picturing Peter Falk.
Oh, nice. Columbo style
Columbo.
situation.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, tell me about Liz Bathory. tell me what you were saying. Sorry, I'm trying to perfect my...
Better than I could
Peter
do.
Yeah.
And his best friend was Frank Dynasty,
Falk. Yeah, nice.
played by Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Frank the Nasty.
R.I.P. in peace, Frank.
Jesus
Right.
Christ. Now, some accounts say that during a Christmas dinner celebration, Elizabeth was noticeably nervous and had tried to poison Turzo and his entourage of guards with cake.
The poison that will kill Terzo.
Yeah. So yeah, right, exactly. No, they basically like they were there the whole time, and she's like, "Yep, don't go into that room. Don't go into this room. Like, stay in here, guys. Ha 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 ha. You having a good time?" And then she brought out this giant cake, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And like they took one bite, and they're like, "I feel sick.
This tastes like poison.
We gotta get out of
I
here."
don't feel good.
Yeah.
She probably shouldn't
Just
have.
like, eat this fucking cake.
It probably shouldn't have a frosting design of a skull and crossbones on the top.
Oh,
Right,
this
yeah.
cake.
She did refer to it as a death cake.
She's really like, let them
Multiple
eat
times.
cake. Suspiciously.
Just go ahead and eat
winking.
the death cake. I mean, regular cake.
Yeah, right. I mean,
Why does it have a skull and crossbones on it?
Death cake, the cake that eats people.
It's
it's.
it's
She's like, skull and crossbones is part of our Christmas celebration.
yeah.
Here.
And also part of it's a Christmas tradition to not poison the death cake. I mean, regular cake.
Each year, that's what we do. We don't poison the king with this great cake I make. So I don't know why you guys are getting all up in
You guys are
arms
being fucking
about how
rude.
bad this cake tastes
Yeah.
and how much it tastes like poison. Don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking about. Fake news.
You guys should
You see, her biggest fuck up though is that she's not one of those poison killers.
No, she's not.
Obviously,
She's not a poisoner.
She's all about
She's a
the
process.
violence.
She likes
and
She's
the
a process
killer.
killer.
she's a process killer.
She's a
Yeah,
process
so
killer.
like
She can't put the lipstick on like Poison Ivy and just kiss you and then you disappear and die 3 days later.
right, like
Well,
that-
and that's and
not
that's
gonna feel good about
and
it.
that's another point. Like, of course, she didn't bathe in the blood. She liked the process. She threw the bodies away. She didn't care about the
Yeah.
blood and
Right.
whatnot. She threw all that stuff away. She
She's
had
a
the
sadist.
servants clean up the blood off the floor.
She wasn't a product killer where she would need the blood.
She would need the blood.
Yeah.
right. So like again, why try going the poison route when you're not that way, dude? Like just
Well, this is
Ma-
going to make more sense later.
Maybe she thought it'd be sneakier because
Yeah.
she's dealing with more elevated people that
Yeah, and how is
people
she just going to
actually
cut all
miss.
their guts
They're
out?
not
Sure.
the peasant girls anymore; they're the noble girls. So,
Yeah. Well, and
so
this
people are
is-
going to notice if you sew a noble girl to a horse. Not so much if they poison.
So
Well,
them
well,
to a
well
horse.
this is not even a noble girl. This is
Yeah,
an
this is-
inquisitor
yeah.
from the Holy Roman Emperor.
Right.
Right.
That's
That's
a
Yeah,
mistake.
no, we're talking
Yeah.
like she cuts his guts out. I think people would notice.
yeah.
Ooh,
well,
yeah.
no, she could blame it on Ebola this time.
Yeah.
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 Ebola.
He was sitting at dinner with me, and boom, got cholera, died.
Yeah.
She got mad diarrhea.
And so actually, after all these like noble girls were dying, and she like blamed it on cholera and whatnot, she was like, can't send the body back because they're like, give us the body back, let us bury
that
them in our
body, that
grave
body,
in our
that body.
graveyard, our family plots, And she was like, no, can't do that.
melted.
Well,
It exploded.
Like it just turned into guts.
we're
It was super
afraid-
weird.
we're afraid of an outbreak of
Yeah.
cholera,
You'll get cholera.
which it seems like they already had.
Yeah, like we're really
Right.
afraid. So we burnt you a crisp seconds after it happened. We didn't even confirm if she was dead.
Well,
honestly.
I like the fact that like they're like, we're afraid of an epidemic, so we buried her in a shallow grave where the dogs could dig her up.
I'm surprised that she didn't go the whole. Well, I mailed it out to you guys. I must have been lost in the post.
Yeah, that damn UPS.
That's so weird. I swear I sent
that
it.
damn postal system. That ought to be defunded.
yeah. Says,
I even
says
bought the
stupidest
insurance
of
and
among
everything
us.
for it.
Yeah.
It's corrupt.
I guess
the only
that's
things
a-
you can send through the mail are viruses and democratic postings.
Yeah, it's almost like you can't even
Trust it.
you can't even send a disemboweled corpse through the mail anymore.
Nah.
So how could you vote?
Yeah,
No.
Can't do it.
well, that's how they voted back in that day. They would send in a corpse.
Yeah, you would use
Carve your
a
initials.
utensil of some sort,
Sword.
and you would mark who exactly you wanted to vote for with a big X next to it. But you also had to draw all of the people you didn't want to vote for, and people would look for where the X was drawn, and that's how you put in your vote.
Yeah,
And then it wouldn't matter because
how
a king would
democracy was
still be a
invented.
king. No, it's
it was the illusion of democracy.
yeah. There you
That
go.
we still have today.
Nice.
But
Well,
instead
we-
of a corpse, it's
A
ballot
country's
box.
corpse.
Yeah,
There you go.
country's corpse.
Full circle. Okay. So what they did is they decided, things were kind of getting fishy around this castle. So what they were going to do is they're going to sneak in. So, Terzo and his men, they hung around there. Little did they know that there was a particular instance of brutality happening right then, during this night, is December 26th,
I
day
mean,
after Christmas.
the
Boxing
Day.
Day.
There you go.
The odds are good.
That's a sacred day. This is fucked up. Now I'm not okay with this at all. I was on Bathory's side this whole time until now that she...
I can't stand servant girls.
Desecrated Boxing Day.
Yeah.
A Canadian treasure.
Yeah, just like...
Wayne Gretzky.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why I blindly agreed with that.
I'm glad you went with Gretzky because I was going to say Labatt Blue.
Sure.
I was going to say Leslie Nielsen.
That's better.
Okay.
I like that better.
No, there was a servant girl again being punished for a very minor infraction, and what happened is she was tied to the kitchen wall. Her clothes were stripped off of her,
Yep.
and they took a club, Elizabeth and her accomplices.
Oh,
and
they took her. So you're saying they took her out on the town? They took her dancing?
No.
Took her to the club.
She's
They were
grooming
holding
some
one
Yin
club.
twins?
It was one club,
Oh,
and what they did is they took turns beating the servant girl
Jesus Christ.
to see which one could kill her.
They took turns. That's
They took
fucked up.
turns, and the thing was this girl didn't die right away. She clung to life, so it took fucking forever.
that's so
How annoying.
The beating, Jesus, the beating went on all day and
Jesus.
well into the night. There was blood everywhere. There was blood
awful.
on the walls. There was blood on the floor, and so many people said like there's so much blood on the floor that like there was pools of it. Like you're
Right.
standing in it.
Wow.
You know, you were soaked in. Elizabeth herself was so soaked in blood that she had to go upstairs, take a break, go upstairs and change out of those clothes into new clothes.
When they were taking turns, do you think they did it pinata style, where they had to spin each other around in circles a couple
Blindfold.
times?
They were
Get
all
them-
blindfolded.
Yeah, they're all.
Wait for the candy. Well, they were like,
It was their quinceanera, after all.
And they happen to be the pinata.
I don't know if they have pinatas at quinceanera. Is that racist for me to say that?
Yeah.
It feels racist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you get a pass. It's okay.
Well,
Well,
I didn't say it happened. I only thought it might.
Zach's half Mexican, so
Exactly.
you get half a pass.
Zach's allowed to tell me if that happens or not.
Yeah. You know, Liz Bathory even had to like take a break because hey, it's a lot of work beating someone to death at the
It's
club.
exhausting.
She got so tired. This thing went on for hours, and this girl was still alive.
Should have used a Matic.
There you
Hey.
go. Nice. But when
Or a
Terz,
scythe.
nice. When
I've been paying attention.
nice.
We're talking
When,
about scythes all the fucking time.
I'm listening to your Spartacus podcast right now, and it's peak of scythes.
It's
Oh, yes.
pervasive.
It was driving Jerry crazy.
When Terzo and his men like burst into her castle, they found this girl tied to the wall and just beaten to a bloody pulp. Like what was left of her. Like there
Jesus.
wasn't much left
Is
of
she
her.
still alive?
No,
you're
she was
saying-
dead.
God.
She was dead.
It's like a fucking Prometheus situation.
Yeah, where he like wakes up. They
Like-
they shoot him full of poison or something, and his head wakes up. I saw it recently.
No, I'm talking about Prometheus from Greek mythology, not the movie.
the shitty
Prometheus.
movie. Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
That's not great.
No, I'm saying like the birds pecking him out.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, like
They eat
that
his
movie,
liver.
The Birds.
Yes.
They eat his liver, and then he comes back to life.
well, in the bad movie, they find a dead alien, just his head, and then they shoot him full of poison or something, and he like wakes up and his head explodes.
Metal.
Cool.
Yeah, it happens for some reason. But yeah, they caught Elizabeth of Bathory literally red-handed. Huh?
Hey.
On account of the blood.
On
On account of all the red
blood.
paint she was dipping her hands into to make really fun fingerprints.
She's like, we don't own paintbrushes here,
Yeah.
No, we use our fingers like adults.
like small children.
She's like, I don't know what these people were doing here.
I'm going back to
beating the
basics.
other girl to death. I was up finger painting
Yeah,
all night.
all night.
I'm making my own Mona Lisa. Mona Lisa spelled with an A.
Mona Lisa is spelled with an A. Two
But
A's.
like 2 A's now.
There were two A's.
There's
3
two
A's
A's.
now. Because it's Moan.
Mana Lisa?
Moan.
Oh, that A.
Oh, I
That-
see.
there's an A
I see,
there.
I see.
Language joke.
I see.
This is now a
I see.
linguistics podcast.
So when Terzo and his men broke in and they saw all of this madness going on, you know, of course they went down into the dungeons of her castle and found atrocities upon atrocities down there, you know, of just the worst scenes you could possibly find. And she was immediately arrested.
It's like the police in Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Except they did it immediately instead of letting somebody go back to...
Oh yeah.
Well, they did let Liz Bathory go on for years.
Yeah.
Years and years and years before they actually
It's like
investigated
when
because nobility started dying.
When you read the details of Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment, you're just like, it's like it feels like fiction. There's
Yeah.
just too much.
It seems
Right.
like it
Yeah.
has to be made up, but it's not.
Yeah. However, an agreement was made between her family and Terzo that there would be no trial for Elizabeth.
That sounds fair.
Well, it would spare the family the shame that would bring to their name, and it would also guard their debts to Matthias II, because their family had given a lot of money for the war effort to Matthias because they were a rich, influential family. Basically, they didn't want that debt to go away, because if it found out that their whole family, was fucked and they were shamed because of it, the king could just be like, I don't owe you anything. You're shamed. Be gone now.
Right.
And they were like, okay,
gone
okay.
from me.
They were like, okay, no trial, great. No shame, great. Let's keep this quiet. Toss her in prison, whatever. Notice that they never said that she didn't do it.
Right.
They never said that. Hundreds of people came forward to testify against Elizabeth of Bathory, each detailing the horrific crimes that took place within her castle, including her 4 accomplices. They also testified, while incriminating themselves in the process. Now, this is really terrible. The 2 worst offenders of her inner circle, they had their fingers ripped off by hot metal tongs,
Oh, cool.
and then they were tossed on a bonfire.
The fingers or the people?
The people.
Okay. I was about to be like,
What good would the fingers do? Like,
know.
I just threw that in the fire.
yeah,
Like,
like,
oh no.
Now you don't have fingers anymore. Can't reattach them.
yeah, exactly.
I don't think they had the
They-
medical technology
No,
to
they-
reattach
Oh,
fingers.
they might have tried though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll sew this under your forehead. Now,
And now I'm a unicorn.
Let's find out. This is the
Middle
Enlightenment.
Ages. Well, no, it's not Enlightenment yet.
No, is it?
It's late Middle Ages, early
The
Renaissance.
medium ages.
But it's in a certain area that's just kind of ravaged by war, so it's a little different than like
They're kinda
Italy and Venice and
stunted
Florence
a
and things
little
like
bit.
this.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a little different. There was a younger, disfigured, that was also part of her inner circle, and because of his younger age, they just had him beheaded and tossed on the fire. So he wasn't alive when it happened. And the least complicit of them, she took food down to the people in the dungeons and took pity on them. She was sentenced to life in prison and sort of expunged from the record of history after that.
We don't know who that is then.
There is names for all these people. I just didn't. I
Oh,
don't want to
no
confuse
worries.
you with all their names.
Oh
and stuff.
yeah, that's for the best.
So they're hard to pronounce names, and I'm just we're just gonna muddy the waters here.
It's for the best.
do
Yeah,
Even
that.
Elizabeth is made up, kind of, right?
Well, Erzabet
right.
Right.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
her real name, but it's an anglicized version of it.
You have
Anyway,
to do that for everybody.
yeah. Here's Kevin and Mark.
Chaz.
Chaz.
Hey, Billy.
Yeah. Bobby Boo. Hey. Vinnie Barbarino. Oh. Anyway,
Vinny
sorry.
Barbarino.
Yeah.
The
Andrew Dice
Fonz.
The Fawns.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah, Arthur Fonzarelli. Oh God, that would have made this story so much funnier. But it's like, hey,
Just do an episode about history where you just change everybody's names to things like Vinny Barbarino.
yeah. And then Arthur Fonzarelli.
You're like, this is the history of Arthur Fonzarelli, and it's like
Caesar.
John
Caesar.
Hancock or something.
Yeah. Yeah, he formed up his legions, and he was like, "Hey,
Hey.
Just he knocked on his legions twice with his fist, and boom, they were working order.
worked." Yeah,
They're playing some sort of 50s bopping beat.
yeah.
Ugh.
They called him Fonzie's legions.
That sounds very like Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Like mushing stuff together from previous eras
Well, it has-
where you
they
didn't
have
know
like the they have that like
happened
the
when.
kings, right? Where
Yeah,
the
where
king
the-
and the Caesar. But I was like,
yeah. If you mix
them
those together, yeah, that's what you have. The weird thing that we're describing.
Yeah, you got an Elvis cult and you got a Caesar cult.
Yeah,
Feels real.
yeah, feels right. It was revealed that Elizabeth kept a diary of
Okay.
all of her victims. And now, the number of these victims totaled somewhere in the neighborhood of 650. That's where we get this number from.
is there a diary?
In her diary,
Yeah.
yes. No one's ever found the diary.
God damn it.
So
There's no proof
So
that
somebody's
this
just
diary
saying-
exists.
They're like, I read in her diary, which I misplaced.
Yeah.
That she killed 600. It's like QAnon told me.
Yeah.
She killed 650 people.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Bathory is fucking kids at the basement of a pizza store.
Yeah.
Fact. We have all the proof right
Now-
here in this diary.
Well,
Doesn't
QAnon
exist.
told me that she didn't.
Right.
Oh shit.
Now, although she wasn't allowed to stand for her own trial and her own defense, Elizabeth was sentenced to be locked away in her own dungeon for the remainder of her
Was it
life.
like at a tippy top of a tower?
No, it's in her own dungeon of her own castle.
This is the
Bitty
bottom
in the
of
same-
the tower.
The bitty bottom.
In the same place that her atrocities were committed.
That's fair.
Seems like kind of poetic justice, doesn't it?
Sure,
I
but
mean,
you would think
considering
that,
how harsh her, the way she punished crimes were, that's
It's
pretty reasonable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not monsters.
No, I'm not saying that they're gonna go, we're gonna do all that to you now.
Well,
That's not how it works. But I'm saying that it's a reasonable punishment for
Yeah.
her crimes. Where her punishments were not reasonable.
I was only kind of joking. They were monsters. They did do these things. Like, where did she learn it from?
Everyone's
like,
a
she
monster.
did learn these things. You know, they did know how to. The fact that she was just doing it wantonly and not on the battlefield. She even has a quote that's attributed to her. And this is not a direct quote. And it's attributed to her, but it's not. Who knows? That she says, like, if I did this on the battlefield, I'd be hailed as a hero. Mm-hmm. You know, which is true. You know, so again, they're not saints either. you know?
right.
No, if history remembers you, you're probably a bad person.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Jason Alexander.
Ah.
All his hate crimes.
Yeah.
No, they're a part of the legend of Elizabeth the Bathory is that she was walled in, and there was just a little space, so they slipped in food for her, and she.
No, it's
you know,
like
she was
the
just in a
cask
jail
of
cell. Amontillado.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except they didn't. He
didn't. No,
he died in there.
He died. She was just in a dungeon cell.
Mm-hmm.
Really,
Right.
is what it was. And yeah, there's not a lot of light down there. She didn't see very many people very often.
She probably felt very much at home because she's literally
I
at
was
her
born
home
in darkness.
dungeon.
Yeah. You merely adopted darkness. But during this time, during her imprisonment, she maintained her innocence, claiming that it was her accomplices all along who had done the crimes, and that she had not stopped them because she was afraid of them.
Yep. Yep. That's like Donald Trump. He actually is completely innocent. And all the people who are getting arrested, part of his
All
campaign.
them. It has nothing to
All
do with
them.
him. It couldn't be.
Right.
No,
That many people? How could he know? How could he ever know?
No, he's
No one
completely
tells
innocent.
him anything.
Yeah, everybody
He's
works.
the president of the United States. He can't be told things.
can't
Everyone who
know
works for him is a
things.
criminal, but
then he'd
he's
know
squeaky clean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's true. That's why he fires so many people.
Yeah, he's like, oh, you're corrupt as well. I gotta drain this swamp.
Man, I only get corrupt people. Why is that? I don't know.
What a bonehead move!
History's mysteries, am I right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now there were some who, looked after her. There were some priests, there were some guards. She only had a couple of visitors. They all said that she wasn't ever willing to admit or acknowledge the severity of her crimes, and that she was totally unrepentant.
I ain't do that shit.
Yeah. And much of her ire was actually directed at Turzo, who was one of the only people who ever came and visited her.
She's like, I thought we were cool, man. Why can't you just let me murder a bunch of servant girls?
Yeah.
My husband said to watch over me, and this is not what he meant.
You think he wasn't murdering servant girls? Where do you think I got the idea?
Yeah.
That's actually,
He told me
that's
that you
actually
did
a
it
thing.
with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Turzo's not squeaky clean. You
Right.
know what I mean? No one in this day and age.
No, not
is.
at all.
Not with that amount of power.
But the last visit last time Turzo came over and visited her, she launched into this tirade at him like, fuck you, you locked me up in my own
can't do what
castle.
you tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is all direct quotes, by the way. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
She launched into this whole thing, and this is how he responded. This is a quote. Now, with a lot of these direct quotes, you never
Probably
know how
allegedly.
real they
Right.
are.
At the very least.
But this
And
is
he's like, then I told her this.
yeah, this is a direct quote. We think.
Maybe.
Anyway, maybe. Quote, "You, Elizabeth, are a wild animal. You are in the last months of your life. You do not deserve to breathe the air on earth or see the light of the Lord. You shall disappear from this world, and shall never reappear in it again. As the shadows envelop you, may you find time to repent for your bestial life. I condemn you, Lady Kachis, to lifelong imprisonment in your own castle.
That's badass.
Yeah, right?
I want to tell somebody that.
Yeah, right?
It's like, you cut me off in traffic, man.
I condemn you
I condemn you to lifelong imprisonment.
in your own castle.
Jerry, I
Sorry
think
about
you're
it.
right. I don't think that he would like have the mind to be able to come up with that shit right away on the spot.
Feels
Like-
a little polished.
Yeah,
Feels like when you're you're on Twitter and you're like,
You know
my
what,
kid
man?
said.
Yeah.
You know what, man? Fuck you, man. You know what? It would be more like that.
You're stupid
It's like,
fuck you, man.
Bitch, and this racket is farts.
it's like, well, the jerk store called and they're running out of you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, as he's walking out the castle, he's replaying it all in his
I
head.
thought
and
of
he's
way
like,
better things to
"Oh,
say.
man."
The thing is
I
that
should have said
this
that
up.
dope ass thing.
there aren't. It doesn't make any sense. There aren't jerk stores.
Yeah.
Just tell him you slept with his wife.
My wife is in a coma.
So on August 21st, 1614, Elizabeth complained to a guard that she wasn't feeling well.
Oh, that old trick.
Yeah, to which the guard told her to just lay down and get some rest.
Yeah.
And he was actually very respectful about it. He said, lay down, my lady, and just get some rest, or something like that. It was very respectful.
What a douche.
Simp.
Yeah, I was
But she never woke up, however.
yeah. No.
And Elizabeth of Bathory was dead. Her legacy became legend, as stories circulated about her being a vampire and bathing in the blood of virgins.
Even though that's what the opposite of what a vampire does.
I know, right? Would
Dying
you
is
want to
like
drink
literally the last thing they do.
it? I know, right? Well, we'll kind of get to some
I got some
mysteries
stuff.
here. However, for 100 years after her death, a concerted effort was made to erase Elizabeth from history.
They fucked that up.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That's why we're talking about
Yeah,
her.
exactly. It wasn't until witness statements from court transcripts that were found much later,
Oh.
100 years later, that the world rediscovered her. And in this, like what happens so often in history, the story was blown out of proportion and mistranslated and mixed with rumor and legend, like the bathing in blood and things like
Right.
this. And just maybe, all of it is made up.
Oh, shit.
Now, let's go back a little bit. Elizabeth of Bathory and her husband were extremely rich,
Right.
especially considering the number of lands that Nadasti had taken from the Ottomans during the war. Like a lot of nobles at the time that had the means, they lent a lot of money to Matthias II for the war effort, making the king, the Holy Roman Emperor, and the King of Hungary, and a lot of these other places, in debt to them,
He
in
had a
debt to their
strong
family.
hook.
He had a strong hook,
Right.
exactly.
It's like from
Crusader Kings.
Smoke on the Wall. It has
Also,
a
yes.
strong hook. That's
Also that,
Yes.
yes. Also
Nice.
Smoke on the Water. Very strong hook.
Thank you for bringing in a hook, like a musical term. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm not the music guy, but
Yeah.
But I appreciated it.
thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that you appreciate it.
My pants just got a little tighter.
I actually did pick this episode because I knew Andrew would be here for it because it's very Crusader Kingsy.
That's great.
I needed that nerd bond.
Sure.
I think
Anyway.
I totally get it.
It's also curious to note that many of the rumors and stories about Elizabeth start to surface after the death of her husband.
Right.
Now, remember how I said that her and her husband were sadomasochistic together? Yeah, but
Driven. You also said driven by the man.
Yes, these rumors came out after he was already dead, though. They were like, she was also sadomasochistic with him. You know, she just learned off of him and then became crazier.
Well, so, all right. To me, already, this sounds like the whole sadomasochism thing is because they were actually into bondage.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, no, hear me out. Like
Okay.
they didn't want to speak ill about them until Homeboy died. Homeboy dies,
and they're like, "Oh, she's a witch," and they like to do
You're not
sadomasochism.
You're not far off. You're just far off with the BDSM stuff.
Yeah.
They're way into dressing up in gimp costumes. I'm just saying.
That's fine. I don't care if you do that.
Don't kink shame.
No. There's nothing wrong
Don't
with
kink
it.
shame.
Well,
What's
no,
wrong
like-
is when it turns into dressing up in a gimp costume and torturing women.
And torturing anybody.
Yeah.
Torture men.
You can torture men.
See, I'm
We
going
deserve it.
I'm
down
kidding.
the. I'm choosing the reality that it's all fake and that she just like to have nipple clamps on or something.
Well. Now,
Who among
Listen.
us doesn't?
listen.
Exactly.
Because it wasn't because she was rich. It wasn't because she was intelligent. It wasn't because she was a strong female leader. And it wasn't because she was influential. It was because that it was just made a little easier to take advantage of her because she didn't have a husband.
Right.
For
What a
like
crime.
higher ups. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, you don't have a husband, you have all this land and power?
Is that your husband?
No, weird. Curious. So it was incredibly easy in this time of satanic panic and paranoia over witchcraft to accuse any woman, let alone powerful, that was living alone. And you could totally accuse her of being a witch and in league with Satan. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for the Monty Python reference.
Yeah. Especially considering that Gheorghe Turzo had the most to gain from the investigation of Elizabeth. Immediately after her imprisonment, Turzo was promoted to Palatine of Hungary, which was a super high position.
He's a
within the
paladin?
court.
Feels like the wrong guy to have asked to look after your wife is the guy who has the most to gain. It's
Well-
almost like she might wind up with a bad reputation afterward.
Yeah, well, shit just, that's how the chips fall sometimes.
It's almost like Frank Dynasty was
That's just what we're
person.
calling it. That's great. Our audience knows who the fuck he is now. Oh, God.
Yeah, Frank Dynasty.
Yeah.
The Count.
For a second, though, I thought you said Dynasty.
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I said Frank Dynasty.
Dynasty.
I'm now saying Frank D-A
Yeah.
apostrophe nasty.
He was the head of
He's
his dynasty.
dynasty.
Dynasty. Yeah.
You got to do a bit of a head wobble when you say
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Like a
And,
sassy,
Flargen
and put
staff.
your finger in the air.
a bit of a Flargen staff.
43D, 3D3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Now,
Okay.
now also, going back to Matthias's debts, once she was in prison, those debts were expunged. The debts that Elizabeth and her husband had given Matthias, those debts are gone now. And all those lands that she had, they're confiscated by the king now because she was arrested. She was thrown in prison, so now they're his.
Convenient.
This is just a convenient power grab, is what it is.
So it's almost like her being a sociopath and doing all these horrible things was extremely convenient for the people already in power.
Yeah, to
And-
to maybe make up all these stories about her being crazy and a vampire and having this
Right,
crazy
right.
bloodlust.
She's also a woman, so
Yeah,
So she
it just made
obviously
it
bathes in
easier.
blood.
It's not really because she's a woman. It just people are gonna believe this.
Doesn't
Hook,
help.
line, and sinker.
Yeah, they're like, oh, she's a woman, periods, blood, banish her to the woods.
Yes, exactly.
That's the thought
Yeah.
process, I assume.
You see, already right now, I want to go out and protest so that we could free Elizabeth Bathory.
Right.
Like, this is just unjust.
that would be a great sign at a protest, though.
And her family willing to play along with Matthias because they were like, oh shit, we have debts to Matthias. We need to have that, otherwise we're ruined.
Right.
So hey, you know what?
You got to take one for the team.
Take one for the team, dude. Don't fuck with us. Just lock her away. That's fine because otherwise our entire family is ruined. If she, it's exposed of all of these things that people are accusing her of doing. And maybe the king will, maybe he'll think our whole family is a bunch of witchcraft Satan
Right.
worshippers, which they kind of already did, but they were still allowed to keep their holdings and stuff. So they're like, yeah, we'll look the other way,
Okay, so now I'm picturing, like how, like the scene of the girl getting bludgeoned to death by
Yeah.
Elizabeth and her accomplices and stuff like that. What if in reality It was a giant spaghetti dinner.
Mm.
Right?
Well, I already like where you're going
I'm
with this.
already on board with
so
you.
it's a huge spaghetti dinner, and the kitchen was just way too cramped. And
Can't have that.
because of how cramped everything was, and too many people in there,
Too many cooks.
too many
Too
cooks.
many cooks.
Takes a lot to make a stew. But they were trying to
Spoil the broth.
to move.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
They're trying to move that tomato sauce, and oh no, the new girl dropped it, and it just went all over the place.
It was a
How
Three
embarrassing.
Stooges style
It was-
situation.
And she's
Exactly.
played by Zoe Deschanel.
Yeah, she's a manic pixie dream girl. Yeah, Elizabeth Bathory.
Elizabeth the Bathory, manic pixie dream girl.
Yeah.
Oh
Or,
my
you know,
God.
What's the opposite of that? It's a depressive ogre nightmare woman. Nightmare man.
Sure.
I guess
Is
would
that a
be.
thing?
I mean, if you were to do the
Did you
reverse,
just make that
you-
up now? Or
I am not the first person to
You
think
do
of
a
that.
reversal.
depressive ogre nightmare man?
so
Kicked out.
Vlad the Impaler.
That's most men.
right?
Especially during this time.
right, exactly.
You mean 2020?
Yeah, I don't know if you
Oh,
mean now
yes.
or then.
Both. No.
It's
Actually,
never been
yes.
a great
No, but yeah.
decade or
but no,
century for
yeah.
men. We don't do good things.
No, especially the
Not
white straight
collectively.
ones.
Not
Like
collectively.
me, Chris, and
A man is good. Men, not so good.
not so great. Then there were the testimonies. Now, again, I told you hundreds of people came forward, and the only reason why we know any of this stuff is because of these testimonies. Now, the testimonies from her accomplices, which are the most damning of them,
Right.
they were made under torture.
Oh, that
They were tortured, and then they gave these testimonies. That makes their testimony
true.
completely inadmissible.
I mean,
Completely
according
fake.
to both George
Throw it
W.
all
Bush and Obama, torture works.
Yeah,
Look
exactly.
at Guantanamo
No,
Bay.
you cut my finger off or something like that, I'll tell you anything.
I mean, you can get
I'll
a
tell you
confession
anything you
out
want.
of anybody if you want to torture them.
Yeah. I'll confess
anything.
to anything.
I'll confess to things right now.
Yeah,
you-
I'll
if I
confess
have
to
my stuff.
9/11 if you cut my finger off.
So you are a Bigfoot.
You make me sit in an uncomfortable chair without proper back support, I will fucking tell you I did anything.
Yeah, if you take away my lumbar pillow, I will easily admit to 9/11, or at least to faking the photographs of the wreckage of the Pentagon after 9/11.
or being involved in the grand Jewish cabal conspiracy of trying to
I never deny that.
trying,
I'm very involved.
trying to convince the world the Holocaust
I
didn't ever happen.
100% have been convincing people the Holocaust is real my whole life. It's a great gag.
It's a prank.
In all seriousness, people that
The
believe
Holocaust happened.
We were joking.
people that believe the Holocaust
So you know.
didn't happen are the scum of the earth.
They're the worst people that have ever been born.
Again, the butt of the joke are those conspiracy theorists who
Yes.
actually believe that.
We think it's funny to make fun of people who don't think the Holocaust happened because of how stupid we know they are.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Just so you know.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah. Now, others testified because back in those days, everyone knew that you had to stay on the side of whoever was in power or is gonna take power. And I mean, let's be real. You
Kuzco.
see that your sovereign is like, they're waning. Hell,
There's
move to the next person that's gonna take power and totally take their side because, maybe it's your head that's next on the chopping
Start
block.
sending gold to that guy because he's about to take power.
Yeah.
And I want him to think well of me.
Yeah.
Crusader Kings reference.
Yeah, marry my daughter to his son. Now, secondly, Elizabeth was extremely well educated for the time.
Didn't like that.
No,
a woman?
and it's not hard to imagine that in a war-ravaged state such as her own, that she was trying to take care of her subjects with relatively new methods of medicine.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Now, early medical tools that were made of iron and are constantly mistaken for implements of torture, especially in the eyes of a peasant in those days who had no idea what
see
they
that.
were.
Oh,
Yeah,
fuck me.
imagine-
Oh my god.
Imagine a
Right?
peasant with no knowledge looks at a set of dentist tools.
See?
No,
it looks
I
like
mean,
torture devices.
They
And-
would.
and-
They
and-
would.
well,
They
and there's
would.
no such thing as
And they
as
are,
painkillers.
right, guys?
There's no such thing as morphine or anything like that. So when you're cauterizing wounds and things like this, they're screaming.
Yeah.
And it looks horrible, and you have to strap them down, and it looks like you're torturing them.
Mm-hmm.
And so people will go back to town going like, I've
saw
seen
some
things.
shit.
I've seen things within the walls of that castle, and the rumors just spread, you know?
Yeah, it's like
And-
if you were looking in the window of a dentist office
Yeah.
and had no idea what that was, you'd be like,
Right.
what? This guy is strapped in, they put a weird bib on him, like
They
he's a little
open- they
baby,
forced
and they
his
just
mouth
shove
open.
needles in his face?
They
What
forced
the
his
fuck?
mouth open, and
And
they
then a
ripped out his
giant-
teeth.
And
They
then a
ripped out
giant
his
light
teeth.
pointing in his face.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
interesting
It
to
sounds
think
bad.
of it that way.
Well, and also remember how I the way I told you, because like this is the crux of propaganda. I told you what was going on, but the way I told you made you believe that it was fake.
Right.
It's not hard to believe that these people were dying from an epidemic
Sure.
of such a thing as cholera that comes from bad hygiene.
Which is what she
And
kept saying
bad
it was.
and bad water. This is medieval Europe. I mean,
Right.
they didn't have sewage and water systems.
And this was
Just
pre-Black... Was this pre-Black Plague?
This is sort of after.
Okay,
They're
okay.
waning from it. It's
They're-
still
they're-
prevalent.
Yeah, medicine was still not in a good place.
No,
Right.
no.
It's why
And-
the Black Plague
and
was
they-
able to happen.
And they still thought that like bad smells, spread disease. It's not hard to believe that there was an epidemic, and a lot of people were dying of disease, and that they did have to hastily bury them, and that the wolves were taking them out
and
of the
try
ground.
experimental techniques to figure out how the
figure it
fuck
out.
to save
To-
them.
Right.
Exactly. And it while her husband was away, there is record of her, quote, trying to take care of the Dominion, right?
Yeah.
And this
she was gonna
this could also
Take care of them.
be yeah. This could also mean that
Dominion's
she
gonna feed the
actually
fishes.
she actually meant well for the subjects, and she was actually trying to help them medically. And these peasants who had no education
Sure.
whatsoever. No education whatsoever. That they completely freaked out at some of the things that were going on. here.
Right.
Like,
Can you imagine how stupid they must be? Like, no offense to them. It's not really their
Well-
fault.
well,
but,
well,
like, look how stupid some people with just public education.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
like, you
People
wonder...
700 years from now are going to think that we're stupid.
We are
It's just
stupid.
going to happen.
You wonder what
know?
things that we hear about in history that are like this, where, like, it's just being reported by the masses, and you recognize how fucking dumb the masses are today.
Right.
Yeah.
How 40% of the country,
Think about
is down to believe whatever the fucking...
Well, think about this. Think about this. When I, at the top of the show, when I said Elizabeth of Bathory, what's the one thing everybody knows about Elizabeth Bathory? That she bathed in the
Bathes in
blood
blood.
of virgins
Right.
to sustain her youth and beauty.
And the black metal band. back.
Right. But that is the most pervasive rumor about Elizabeth of Bathory. And even in the accepted narrative that she was a horrible person, that is not proven. That is a total lie.
Right.
So
Same-
it's not
we
hard
do
to
this with-
imagine.
We do this with historical figures all the time, which is why I think your
Yeah.
guys' podcast is very important.
Oh.
Well, it's
Thank
the
you.
kind of thing where we're like, we grow up believing George Washington chopped down a cherry tree. It's
Right,
these little
right,
myths
right,
that
right.
stick
Little myths.
so hard because
Yeah.
the masses continue to propagate them,
Well-
and we believe them as true, as if, okay,
Yeah.
that must have happened,
Yeah.
and that must mean XYZ for this individual in history.
That
But
she's a
that may
vampire.
not have happened, very likely didn't happen, and it doesn't mean anything because it didn't happen.
Right.
She didn't bathe in blood. She wasn't a vampire. She very well could have been so many other things. Violence probably happened.
Well, here's the
maybe,
thing.
but-
Well, here's the thing. Back in her day, she probably did beat her servants, and even if she did enjoy it, there's no way of proving that.
Right.
But
was it
it's
abnormal?
not. It's not illegal.
Were there
and it
other
was
countesses that weren't
No.
beating their
Not,
servants?
no, everyone was doing it. It was not illegal, and it was not abnormal.
Right.
So people did beat their servants, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was brutal. They beat them within an inch of their lives.
Right.
I'm not saying that's right.
No, but
I'm
people
saying
have been-
I'm saying there is a reason to doubt these atrocities ever happened or took place, because the people that stood to gain so much from her being a monster and being locked away in her own castle, they used it as a political stunt to move themselves higher at her expense.
Right.
And it was just easy to do.
You know-
she was an easy target.
That's
Right.
the thing that I fear. I fear in the future. A fear about the future is that, like, we look at we sometimes you hear now the narrative of, like, oh, these people are fucking up and doing these fucked up things now, but in the history books, that's going to show that that this is the thing. They were pieces of shit and they were the monsters.
I don't know about
I don't know
that.
if I'm that convinced,
I don't know about
like
that.
it depends so much on who writes them and who is directing that narrative.
Especially with Trump wanting to completely control the narrative for
the way we tell
teach
history.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, he this is a little bit of a rant, but I'll keep it short. He is under the impression that people like us, let's just use us as an example. He's under the impression that people like us are trying to convince everyone that listens to our show that what we're trying to do is we're trying to convince them that America's a bad place and everyone that's ever been involved in the building of America has been a horrible person. That's just not true.
It's such an oversimplification.
It's not true.
It's the truth of that, or it's without any nuance whatsoever.
Yes,
The truth
Like
exactly.
that, there is nuance, and that's the part that we get
Exactly.
scrubbed when we're taught it in
The
school.
nuance gets erased. Yes.
Well,
exactly.
it's like
Nothing is black and white, but we want to. It's easy to.
Are there
frame
good
it as
ideas?
It's an
Are there
easier
good
story.
things that founding fathers did? Absolutely.
100%.
Were they slave owners? Did they have old ideas that are completely in modern times? I mean, I've said this a lot on the show, and we can get back to the story. I just want to say this real quick.
Yeah.
When you look at history, I think you just have to look at it both through a modern lens
and
and
through
through the
their
lens
I
of
agree.
their
I
lens.
agree. Both people will be like, don't think about history from modern lens. People the world was just different back then, but I think it's important to look at it both ways.
You have to look at it both ways.
I do think it is.
absolutely.
Especially in Liz Bathory's
That's where
situation.
the nuance lies.
Because these accusations of witchcraft and Satanism, those the brutality was icing on the cake. The real thing for them at this time was witchcraft and Satanism.
Right.
That was the most offensive part of this whole thing.
It's like the early 90s.
It is.
Yeah.
And it kind of
It's the Satanic
skips
Panic.
it kind of skips generations sometimes.
It comes back around
Yeah.
all the time because we can never figure out a way to make it actually go away.
And the biggest red flag in this whole thing is that we don't have any of Elizabeth of Bathory's defense.
Yeah.
We have no evidence of her defense. We don't know what her side of the story is. It
was never
We never got
recorded.
that. Even the worst monsters in our history have been given a trial, and at least we've heard their side of the story.
Right.
Are they most of the time wrong? Yeah. But they got a trial, and at least we know, right? Whereas this, we do not know.
And do you think it was
seems no
deliberate
evidence.
scrubbing?
It seems deliberate to me.
What I think is deliberate about it is they just used her as a scapegoat to be able to take all of her shit.
Yeah.
And
Expunge the
the
debts.
fact that they want to just write her off in history is a factor in that.
Well, they wanted to cover it all
Yeah.
up.
Which,
You know
of
what I
course,
mean?
is easier back then without
Yeah.
the fucking
And then-
internet.
yeah, it's a smear campaign.
I mean, it feels more reasonable than her happening to have murdered 850 people. You know,
Yeah.
like
well,
650.
to this point,
what,
to this,
wasn't it 850?
No, 650.
Okay, 600. Oh,
80
right,
to
yeah,
600.
Gotcha.
So to this point, if there are truly 80 to 650 bodies in or around her castle, you'd think they would have dug up one that they could tie to Elizabeth of Bathory.
Interesting.
They never did
They
one.
never dug
Like,
up one
That's
that they could tie to her.
so fucking interesting. Like,
Yes, Zach?
So, remember when Jerry said that hundreds of people testified against her?
Yes.
How ridiculous would it be if the people that were testifying were also the quote-unquote dead girls?
It's like when people
no,
vote
well,
using dead people's names.
I mean, yeah.
mean-
Who would be able to say that? Who's recording names in that time? Like, if you wanted to make something happen, I think you probably could have put people's reports.
Well, here's the thing: is that there's no records of the names of the dead girls, right? All there is stories that they were dying and that people spread stories. All of that was written after all of
and
this.
could
Right,
be
but-
explained by cholera.
Well, I'm just saying, could be, yeah, but I mean,
at least
exaggerated
partially.
the numbers.
At least
80 is a
partially.
tall number. But I'm just saying that,
650 even taller.
a few
Jeez.
people during an epidemic probably died at her castle, and these powerful men used a couple of political means to vilify her and toss her in prison for the rest of her life.
Especially in an era where
and the
medicine
thing
and
is
science were not well understood.
Exactly, and the thing is this leads me to believe that maybe no one died. Or a few people died from an epidemic, but not very many died on this level. Died
Right.
Well, like, if
at
there
her
is an
castle.
epidemic and a bunch of people die, it kind of, like, if that is actually what happened, and it's just, let's say it's not 80, it's, like, 16.
Yeah.
Which is a lot.
Which is a
really.
lot.
Still, yeah. It's more than one.
And they decide to burn the corpses or whatever because they don't want to spread cholera.
Exactly.
Then she was telling the truth.
And it's not a Christian burial. And
Yeah.
here's another thing. This is icing on top of icing. Elizabeth of Bathory and her family were Protestant to a Hungarian kingdom that was trying to reassess its Catholicism to this particular geographic area.
Oh, that's big.
I wonder if the Vatican has her journal.
It's not super big. It's just
It's just telling,
add
is
on.
my point.
I add on. It just makes it easier again. It just makes it more
It just,
easy.
what
Right.
comes down to me is like, really, we have fucking no idea what happened. We have no fucking idea.
No.
All sources are unreliable.
Yeah.
And it's understandable
And
if
it
there's
doesn't-
variable here. Like they're
If the absolute truth is like the worst possible story, doesn't seem the most likely story.
No,
it
no,
seems
no,
more
no,
likely
no.
than a lot of it was made up.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you said, like beating servants.
Peasants, servants,
Of course, they
same
fucking
thing.
did that
Yeah.
shit.
More likely, yeah,
Nobody
yeah,
thought it was
yeah.
a bad thing back then.
No.
It is a bad thing.
It is.
But
it's
The
in
rich are
time, they
currently
didn't-
doing that to us right now.
well, it's that
Yeah,
same thing I was kind
metaphorically
of talking
speaking.
about.
Financially.
Financially, we're getting our
with-
asses kicked.
I was mentioning the KKK, where in the 1920s they had become so normal. I was just talking about this in our
Yeah.
little group chat.
Yeah.
How the KKK had been so normalized in the 1920s that you would like they had baseball games against Jewish leagues and
Black leagues.
yeah, and black leagues, like little things like that,
Yeah.
where things become so normalized, the racism and the hate becomes so normalized in the same way that I would assume
so
that
interesting.
violence can become normalized,
Yes.
especially in
this time and this place,
and
especially.
in that in nobility,
Yeah.
like
Right.
the way of viewing classes. We probably can't even really fathom the level of class.
No, the
difference.
way of viewing class was more important than human life in this time. The respect you would need to have for your upper classes was way more important than the respect you would have to have for human life. That was just the law
such a
of
weird
the day.
idea.
Yeah, we can't really understand it now. We can't really totally understand it.
we
now.
can't. I think there are people in America that probably
Well,
can't.
Certain people, but
when the first
well, the
lady
thing
was
is-
like mocking children who were
yeah,
Which time?
yeah. Well, I'm just
The
saying
time
that
she wore the jacket, or the time
Yeah.
that she
I
got
meant
recorded
very
on tape?
recently. I can't remember exactly what she said, so I'm pulling back so I don't look like a moron.
there are times though peasants notoriously didn't matter. Servants were useful. Servants you didn't want to die all the time.
There might be a record of servants.
Exactly, but peasants it did not matter if swaths of peasants died.
Our country
no one
kinda-
cared about peasants.
A good
in
amount
these
of our
days.
country feels that way about the poor.
Yeah, I feel
Oh,
like we have
oh,
not
absolutely.
gone that far
Totally.
from that mentality.
Totally, but the
I mean,
fact that
to be fair, it's only 500 years seems like a very long time, but grand scheme of things,
it's really not. It's really not.
to get beyond that sort of thinking,
Yeah.
it definitely fucking isn't.
It is more than likely that she was a victim of a centuries-long smear campaign saying that she was a bloodthirsty, sadistic, devil-worshipping witch, and that she deserved what she got, even though the evidence against her is extremely thin.
Justice for Elizabeth Bathory.
I'm saying it now. I think Elizabeth Bathory is innocent.
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
Justice for
Probably.
Elizabeth Bathory.
I mean, we don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. I mean,
No,
I definitely
I think she's innocent of the atrocity.
I think
Yeah.
it's at the very least it's a very feasible
It's feasible.
possibility.
beat
I
the
think it's
servant
feasible.
girl against the kitchen wall. Probably didn't happen.
No. I mean,
beating some
again,
servants? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm that.
Again, like these guys that
Stories get exaggerated.
that supposedly caught her red-handed. I mean, come on. Are you going to believe what he has to say?
When he's the person who could gain most from
I
it.
mean, yeah, come on. There is nothing that comes out of that guy's mouth that should be taken with anything more than a grain of salt.
I agree.
Also, his story is like the depiction
Bonkers.
of literally a film directed by Glenn Danzig.
Exactly.
Like it's something so Halloween cartoon over the top.
Like let's make this. It's almost like
a hit piece.
Or it's almost like a pedophile cult that lives in the tunnels of America that drinks the blood of children. It's almost like taking everything
and
to
there's
the
a vast
greatest
economy
extreme possible.
There's a vast economy around it that we
to get
somehow
people
can't
scared
account
and
for.
act in a certain direction.
Exactly.
You know?
Because when you bring up something as crazy and as ludicrous as that,
It makes people act.
It makes their blood boil. It makes the emotions fire up. Right. That is how you control people.
Angry
and
gets
that is how
shit
you can.
done.
That is
Yeah.
how you. I'm
Angry
sorry.
get shit done. I agree.
It controls people and it makes them act the way you want them to.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be wary of any time somebody tells you something outrageous.
That's what propaganda is for.
Exactly.
It's what othering people is for. It's what America has done when we depicted the Japanese. It's what Germany did when they depicted the Americans.
Yeah.
You know, I
and
mean,
the Jews.
Yeah, very much
Yeah.
so.
And the
You make
British.
them look
It's
evil.
like
Well,
in
and the
Jojo
British with
Rabbit, where
everyone.
he's like, "Why don't you have your horns?"
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because that's what the fucking imagery was. You know,
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
there's a lot of realistic shit there that is still very much happening with the way that we other people to this day.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So when Elizabeth of Bathory died in 1614, she was buried in the village cemetery. However, the villagers became outraged that the Blood Countess was buried among their own. So her body was exhumed and moved to a family crypt. However, when the Bathory family crypt was opened in 1995, the skeleton of Elizabeth of Bathory, the Blood Countess, was nowhere to be found.
Vampire in cahoots with Bigfoot. Called it from the beginning. Also,
you
take
changed your
back
mind.
everything I said.
Did Geraldo open it?
Geraldo Rivera. Yeah.
Yeah, he spent an entire special opening up the tomb of Elizabeth. That sounds. I want to see. I wish that was a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Because it sounds ridiculous.
I mean, you can kind of watch that in the Capone one.
But specifically to like,
It's
if
more
you were
bonkers.
picking.
He's like,
If you've gone all the way to Hungary,
like it keeps happening. Like he's opening tombs,
Damn
and
it.
things, and
He's like, okay.
I wish I would become
Capone
his thing.
was
And
the
like,
thing.
I swear, guys, this time I've checked with a lot of sources. He didn't check with that many
something.
sources, but he checked with some sources, and they all say that you're gonna find some skeleton bones and a bunch of weird treasures and cool shit in here. I promise. We'll find out at the end of this commercial. Oh fuck it! It's empty. No skeleton. Sorry guys.
Yep.
It
I
happened
feel like-
again. God damn.
if that
And he had to go all the way to Hungary or Slovakia
if
to
that
do it.
happened on when South Park was around, I feel like there would be an episode where he just keeps opening tombs and random shit.
God damn it! Yeah.
God damn it! Fuck! God damn
Not again.
I'm Geraldo.
It's got to be somehow
They
Kyle's
give him a
fault.
voice like that.
Oh yeah.
Why does this happen?
Yeah. I love the way they make fun of people in that show because it's always like a real childish way of making fun of
Oh
someone.
yeah.
They're acting-
Like John Edwards.
Or
Like,
Mel Gibson.
not a piece of shit. I'm not a douche.
Right.
I'm not a douche.
yeah.
He wins the world's biggest douche award.
That's right. I'm not a douche. Like they give him like a cartoony, shitty, whiny voice.
They know how to layer a level of stupidity onto like a real world thing that works very well for mockery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Bathory, guys.
So what do you think? Do you think she's innocent? Do you think she's guilty? What do you think?
I mean, of everything they said, no, absolutely not. It makes no sense.
You did mention hundreds of witnesses, right?
Yeah.
That is a hard part to
time, I mean, I don't know what kinda-
But I mean,
grapple with.
But
they're jumping from power to power, and also it's yes-anding with people,
It is.
and Turzo's methods of extracting testimonies
Very
is
fair.
sometimes through torture.
Because I do hear 100 witnesses, and I imagine a Bill Cosby
It's
or a Harvey Weinstein
hundreds.
situation.
Sure.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I hear hundreds of witnesses. Yep, it happened.
Yeah.
But I think
there is the layer of torture
didn't
and
cut their
extracted
fingers off.
confessions.
As awful as our, like...
That does not exist in modern scenario.
Yeah.
Where Yeah, I think
As
that
awful as
changes
our
it up.
judicial system is now, can you imagine what it was like back then?
Oh my god.
Like,
nearly
good.
non-existent.
Non-existent, yeah,
Nearly
exactly.
non-existent.
It's really justice system in hard air quotes.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Zach?
Oh, do I think that she beat her servants? Absolutely.
100%.
But
I agree.
do I think that she did this fucking
Bathed
horror
in
This
blood.
movie
crazy
fantasy?
shit? Yeah.
Absolutely not.
This let's face it, cartoonish
Yeah.
violence.
exactly.
agree.
Yes, very
Yeah.
much.
Elizabeth Bathory killed everybody's parents, cooked them into a chili, and made them eat it.
Right,
In
exactly.
front of
The bands they liked.
Yes.
What was it, Radiohead?
it was Radiohead.
It was
Yeah,
Radiohead.
yeah.
But no, like,
like-
They're just playing like lutes.
it's just
guys rock.
it's so fucking crazy to me, and infuriating because again, like you said at the top of the show, and then you also said it at the end. Keep in mind, this woman was highly educated.
Right. Right.
Like,
I mean, dude, I mean,
and very rich.
a highly
And she
educated,
had
rich
debts to the
woman
emperor.
Who knew 4
Yeah.
languages.
who knew 4 languages. Yeah,
I think having an educated woman,
and Protestants.
And lots of land.
And-
Huge tracts of land.
Huge tracts of
Feels
land.
like a
an
target.
educated, wealthy woman with an
With no
enormous amount of
husband.
land,
No
no
husband.
husband, who is Protestant.
Yeah.
Come on,
She's
man.
walking around with the target on her back.
But at that
Yeah.
same time, if I'm playing devil's advocate, I could say the same sort of shit for Harvey Weinstein. You're like, this guy's got so much. He's got all this. He's got this. He's done so many things. Like you, it's not the same. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the
It's not the
same.
same.
But like when you hear hundreds of witnesses, like
mean,
again,
things are
like,
different.
It's,
I don't think
yeah,
it's hard to say.
I don't
It's,
think
it's
it's the
important.
same.
It's important to recognize that they were tortured. Like it's hard to like.
They were tortured and
Hundreds
I
of
mean,
witnesses. I've been
and
conditioned to
now-
feel like, oh, I believe hundreds of witnesses.
I
You know
totally
what
get
mean?
that. Just different in this day because
It is.
Yeah, that's a
I mean,
modern
even
thing.
if even
It
if
is.
they're not tortured, I mean, peasants may not have been educated, but they weren't stupid. They knew how they like. That's another thing. I feel like that's something that we don't really understand in this day and age either. Like when somebody isn't educated, they think that educated people think that they are stupid. It's not true. No, not being educated doesn't mean you're stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
A
so-
smart,
so-
educated
yeah.
person would know that.
Yeah, so-
a
yeah.
stupid, educated
Yeah.
person does not.
Exactly, and they exist.
Massive.
yeah,
There are
and so-
enormous amounts of stupid, educated
so
people.
my point is that smart, uneducated peasants, because none of them were educated, they could see which way the tides were blowing, and they were like, "Hey, Liz Bathory, our countess, she's gonna get tossed in prison right now
I'm not
because
going
these
with her."
inquisitors from the Holy Roman motherfucking Empire
Right.
are here to fucking toss her in prison."
I could also see
if that guy asks me what's going on, yeah, I don't like her. I like the Holy Roman Emperor.
She's
That's
a
who I
vampire,
like.
and I'm
Exactly.
done with it.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
she's a vampire. I heard she eats fucking children. I heard she
If you-
tore
also, if you
the
know-
flesh from their faces.
Totally.
I was like,
You know what I mean?
I was like, I've personally seen her
Yeah.
insert needles under.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
Giving
know
her these crazy quotes, shit like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Again, the
Yeah.
red hand was all spaghetti sauce from the Great Spaghetti
Dude, I
Incident.
love spaghetti.
Yeah.
So
Love it
did
so much.
Elizabeth Bathory. Probably.
Also,
Turns out it was all marinara.
I'm talking about your cat, Jerry.
Oh yeah, also my cat.
Your cat is very cute.
Well, did you guys enjoy the story of Elizabeth Bathory in
Well,
our
yeah.
spooky season?
I'm spooked.
Fuck yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It was a
I'm
great
probably
story.
spooked. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. We are the History Boys. I am Christopher Whedon.
I'm Zach Mack, also a history boy, signing off.
I am Andrew Stevens. You can follow me on Twitter at AJ Stevens Writes, because I write things and I say things that are funny. So follow
Writes
me,
with a
please.
W, right?
Yeah, Writes with a W.
Yeah.
Not
And-
like your rights.
Yeah, and I'm also an understudy history boy.
Yep.
And yeah, Andrew's actually a published author, and he's very, very talented.
Thank
at
you, Jerry.
writing. So you should check out some of his writing. Where's that published at, by the way?
I've got one piece on the Bookends Review, and I've got another on the Journal of Compressed Creative Arts, and I have another piece coming out in November in the Goldman Review.
And is
Cool.
all that available online, or is that just in print?
The
or-
first two are online. You can find them on my Twitter, I think.
Okay.
And
You have
the new
links
one
there?
there are
Good,
links,
good,
and I
good.
will be adding new links as new stuff comes out. I
What-
got some
what-
stuff in the works.
Sorry, what was your Twitter handle again? I'm
It
sorry.
is AJ Stevens Writes, because Anything else was already taken.
You spell your name with a V, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
Stevens with a V.
All right. Just making sure. And I am, of course, Jerry Nash, History Boy. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. It means so much to us. As always, we are in the midst now of spooky season.
Halfway through.
We're halfway through. We get the full 4 weeks, guys. We get 4 episodes of this stuff, which is fantastic.
Bone-chilling,
frightened
creepy stories.
all the time.
Yeah.
I'm worried constantly of what you're going to throw into my midst.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
I'm shaking in my boots as I
For
wait.
the next
Andrew will be back next week.
Yeah, and
then
I
after
think,
that,
I
Tyler
think
should be back.
Mr.
Hell yeah.
Armatrout might be back. Yeah,
Yeah.
for our last spooky episode. So stick around for that. Let's see. Follow us on the social medias, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. We post all sorts of stuff there. We'll interact with you there, which is always nice. And if you want to send us an email to maybe give us a suggestion or just reach out and say hello, we like that. We love that when that happens. Our email is historyboyspodcast@gmail.com. Reach out to us there. We always love hearing from you and getting your suggestions and putting them in the pipeline. It's fantastic. Also, we have a Patreon now. It's a few weeks old. Mr. Zach, can you just remind us of the tiers?
So yeah, for $1, you get access to our Discord, and you'll have the opportunity to talk with us. Every once in a while, we'll get into the voice channel, and you can have a virtual beer with us. That's pretty sick, right? I think it's pretty sick.
dope.
I mean, if you're talking to me on Discord, I will be drinking.
He'll be blacked out.
Yeah.
So at $5 amount, you get that, and you also get a shout out for helping us out, because 2020 sucks ass and everyone's hurting, and if you can fucking help us out and continue on the shit, that's great. At $10 a month, you get all of the above, plus access to exclusive content. One of those things that I have decided I will be doing is releasing an EP of music used within the show.
Which is super
So-
cool.
Ooh, that's cool.
I'm insanely excited for
See,
this.
this would only be
Are we talking to some
exclusive.
extended themes?
extended themes, some lyrics and what have you.
That's awesome.
So yeah, and
that.
that will be only available for our patrons at the $10 tier or more. But we will be adding new additional content into the Patreon.
We are so close to getting merch up there, guys. We're gonna get that handled by the holiday season, so you can get your uncles and your aunts and your children, History Boys
Your nephews,
t-shirts,
your nieces, your
great-grandpa.
your whole family,
your associates, your secretaries.
the whole family. You can get them
Your
History Boys swag. So, not slaves. There's no such thing as those anymore.
I mean, if
And
you
that's
have
for
a
the reason.
slave, then you might as well be wearing a History Boys t-shirt. That's all I'm saying. Don't have slaves. Slavery's wrong.
Slavery and
But-
racism all stopped in the
Don't
1800s.
make your
Everyone knows
slaves
that.
wear our products.
You don't have to. Don't give them that as a gift.
Only dress people in History Boys merch consensually.
Jesus
It's
Christ.
really important
This is
you
really
do that.
fucking falling.
We derailed.
No, I derailed it.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
I derailed it all on my own.
Yeah. Again, thank you so much. It humbles me every time you guys write reviews and leave 5-star reviews and things like that online. Like when I see them on Apple Podcasts and whenever you follow us, and because we get to see the numbers and everything. So it's very humbling to see you come out and say very nice words about us and to help us out as a show.
I just want to say one thing. I recently learned that my mother watches or listens to this show,
Which is awesome.
And I didn't know that she knew how to listen to podcasts. So I love you, Mom. She
Thank you, Linda.
Her feedback was that she thought Jerry was doing a very good job, and he has a very good speaking voice, and that she doesn't enjoy.
Thank you.
She doesn't enjoy all of the foul language.
Of course.
Well, shit.
Fair.
I was like, "Sorry, Mom." This is how I talk around my parents.
Love you, bye.
We had a lot of fun. We'll see you next time.